my God. I was muted the whole time. I'm so sorry. It fooled me. Hi, Grace Lisa. Thank you for telling me. I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. Mic check. Oh man, I gave you guys the secret to a happy life. Sorry you missed it. Good morning. Well. Exactly, Grace Lisa. That's how I feel. That's really good. That's how I feel. Oh well. Would it be a Lolo's lounge if the mic was working? I don't know. I'm sorry I'm early, I'm late. I'm early, I'm late. That's what I was saying. Is that I'm early, I'm late. I'm early, I'm late. How can anyone even attempt to keep up with me? You can't. Anyway, yeah, there's some stuff happening this morning. You guys have probably already watched it, which I'm so sorry. We're gonna get back to early mornings though. Get ready, okay? Because I want to get back to early mornings, and we're gonna do that soon. I don't know when. Maybe July 1st. Maybe July 1st will be our new studio. I hope. It sounds like the movie Chinatown. Yeah, exactly. With a black eye. Anyway, good morning. Welcome to Wake and Bake with Lolo. I'm Lolo. And that's it. This is what you get. This is what you get. That's all we got. We are going to be watching, I think we're going to check in on the Southern Poverty Law Center nonsense. To see what they're trying to do to the Southern Poverty Law Center. So we're gonna go back. I hope that everybody has not watched this entire thing. I'm gonna start with Raskin's opening statement because I don't like Jim Jordan. So the beauty of watching things after is that you can actually cut through the bullshit and just watch what you want to watch. Because that's what we do here. All right, let's take a look here and see what good old Jimmy Jordan's up to. Jimmy Jordan. Anyway, good morning. Let's smoke some weed. Let's get high. Let's check in on the news. Let's find out what's happening. Goodbye, Spencer Pratt. Go fuck yourself. I mean, literally go fuck yourself. You useless skin bag. You're not even good enough to lick the mud off my shoes. How about that, Spencer Pratt? Let alone be mayor of this city. So go fuck yourselves. Hi, Jay. I was just telling Spencer Pratt to go fuck himself.
$700 million in an endowment. Such a deal.
An endowment?
And they would have gotten away with it, but for the oversight of Congress, and more importantly, the work of the Justice Department.
I'm going to tell you right now.
The Attorney General and the work him and his team are doing.
This is the dumbest witch hunt I've seen yet.
Hearing from our witnesses
they really
today,
think you're stupid.
Questions. And with that, I would yield to the ranking member for an opening statement.
Let me tell you how stupid they think you are. They think that you're so stupid that you're going to buy that a nonprofit that is dedicated to uncovering hate in this country would use informants to infiltrate those groups so that they can know what's happening, and they communicate with law enforcement, by the way. So this is the worst, I'm going to paint them as a villain scenario that I've seen in a minute. And I think if they pull this one off, then I think that's amazing. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is one of the bigger boondoggles trying to end a nonprofit that is literally doing the work that their donors want them to do, which is to understand what is happening in this country and to identify groups that are trying to create hate and create violence. I cannot believe that we're going after. I'm sorry. Yeah, what's the background? Yeah, the GOP would like to get rid of the Southern Poverty Law Center because they identify who the hate groups are in this country, and they do a fine job of it. And they also represent people who are abused. So they do a lot of good work, actually. It's one of the better nonprofits, frankly. I mean, I know nonprofits, and that one's one of the better ones. So the fact that they're going after it is just so stupid. Isn't it, Josh? It just fits it, right? It just fits it. So yeah, this is a witch hunt, and they're literally trying to attack an organization for using informants to infiltrate right-wing violent groups. Because that's how they found out what was going to happen and shit like that. Hello, it's evidence. It's called evidence. Jesus. This is crazy. If this works, it's crazy. And I don't know what to do then.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Welcome to our witnesses. Created in 1971 and headquartered in Montgomery, Alabama.
Yeah, drink some water.
Created in 1971, headquartered in Montgomery, Alabama. The Southern Poverty Law Center is one of America's leading civil rights groups. It fights for voting rights throughout the South, economic justice, and criminal justice reform. Like every major civil rights group in our history, it's been subjected to serious white supremacist violence. Its leaders have been threatened and attacked since its founding, and SPLC headquarters were firebombed in 1983 by members of the Ku Klux Klan who were convicted of conspiracy in federal court. After this attack and escalating racial terror, the SPLC added to its work a focus on the Klan and neo-Nazi groups and other purveyors of hate, violence, and white supremacy. In 1988, the SPLC litigated against the Southern Whites of the Ku Klux Klan, the Southern White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, and drove them into bankruptcy, winning $1 million damages verdict on behalf of more than 50 peaceful civil rights marchers in Forsyth County, Georgia, who had been savagely attacked and injured by the Klan. In 2019, it brought a $14 million judgment and won it against the neo-Nazi founder of the Daily Stormer for orchestrating an anti-Semitic troll storm harassment campaign consisting of more than 700 death threats and vile abuse against a Jewish woman and her family. The SPLC has defended the rights of anyone and everyone targeted for hate, violence, oppression, and murder. Today, it's under attack by the Trump administration and MAGA. Like the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the great legislative achievement of the modern civil rights movement, now dismantled by the Roberts Court, the SPLC is an enduring institutional beacon of hope for millions of people seeking to create a more perfect union. The Trump administration is thus naturally trying to tear it down. I've heard three main arguments for this astonishing crusade. The first is that the age of racism and white supremacy violence is over in the 21st century, and so the SPLC's work is unnecessary. Well, this is plainly ridiculous. We live in an age of resurgent racial injustice, profound economic inequality, and relentless assault on the right to vote. Racist violence still permeates our society. In recent memory, avowed racists and white supremacists have killed 23 people in the El Paso Walmart massacre, 11 people worshiping at the Tree of Life synagogue in the worst anti-Semitic attack in American history, 10 people who were killed shopping for groceries in the Buffalo supermarket massacre, 9 worshiping parishioners were gunned down at the Mother Emanuel Church massacre in Charleston, South Carolina, and 8 people were killed at the Atlanta spa shootings, to name just 5 examples out of thousands. In 2024 alone, the FBI recorded nearly 12,000 hate crime episodes in our country. Just a few weeks ago, 3 fathers died defending their mosque, and 140 children at worship services in San Diego against 2 fanatical white supremacist teenagers jacked up on white great replacement theory and far-right neo-Nazi ideology who took their own lives tragically after the attack. But here's the second argument they use. They say, well, even if there's all this violence that we're engulfed in, the Southern Poverty Law Center itself is responsible for the violence that we see around us. The basis for this outlandish claim is that for decades, at least since the 1990s, the SPLC has infiltrated and investigated the Klan, neo-Nazis, and other groups by paying informants who go undercover. The purpose of these operations is obviously to derail and prevent white supremacist hate crimes and actions, both the kinds of hate crimes and shooting sprees we see all around us, but even more massive terrorist attacks like the Oklahoma City Federal Building bombing, which took the lives of 168 Americans, many of them children, who were in a daycare center when the white nationalists unleashed their terrorism on the people of Oklahoma. In the course of their work to investigate the extreme right, the SPLC has worked closely with the FBI for decades and turned over to the Bureau voluminous information, tips and leads from their field sources for further investigation, criminal arrest, and prosecution. In 2017, the FBI listed the SPLC as one of its partners on its website, where it remained for 8 or 9 years before this administration.
Wow.
There's nothing new about that work, but now Todd Blanche and the Trump DOJ in Alabama have twisted and corrupted this proud history of cooperation with law enforcement to bring an 11-count criminal indictment against the SPLC, claiming that it was defrauding its own donors. This is amazing, given not only that the SPLC donors and supporters cherish and prize the group precisely for its ability to get information in this way to stop hate crimes, but also incredible because the FBI itself uses the exact same practices for its own investigative work, spending in the neighborhood of not $3 or $4 million on undercover informants, but more than $40 million a year on undercover informants. There's nothing illegal about that. SPLC donors are not claiming fraud.
That's right.
They were proud to support this program. Even the extremist groups themselves understood they were being infiltrated and were constantly looking for the traitors, the spies. Well, my friends, we know what a real fraud looks like. Consider a fraud called Trump University.
Ooh.
A scam from top to bottom,
Ooh.
where 9,000 victims joined 3 different class action lawsuits to complain about the fact that they were cheated out of thousands of dollars for a university that existed in name only, without a real curriculum, without real professors, without an actual campus, or any way to keep their extravagant and seductive promises to their students. The thousands of outraged victims were not silent. They came forward to complain, and they won a $25 million settlement against Donald Trump and the purveyors of this fraud. One former instructor at Trump University said it, quote, preyed upon the elderly and uneducated to separate them from their money. Another former instructor said the institution was, quote, a total lie. That's what real fraud looks like. What have SPLC's donors done in light of this criminal indictment? They've not lined up to file class action suits or to denounce the SPLC. They continue to support the SPLC's works. Donations to the organization have gone up since this fraudulent indictment was brought down by the Trump administration. Well, the final complaint I've heard from members of this committee speaking on behalf of certain groups who take exception to being called hate groups by the SPLC. So they're mad that certain groups that they like are called hate groups. And I can appreciate why people don't want to be called a hate group. I don't like a lot of things that are said about me and the groups that I like. Stephen Miller said, the Democrat Party is not a political party, it's a domestic extremist organization. I don't like that. Kristi Noem called Alex Preddy and Renee Good, law-abiding citizens shot down by ICE, domestic terrorists. Donald Trump said that Democratic donors like George Soros and Reid Hoffman were funding a conspiracy for domestic terrorists. Look, under our First Amendment, love and hate exist in the eye of the beholder. Donald Trump has repeatedly said that January 6th was a day of love when our police officers were bathed in hugs and kisses from the Proud Boys and the insurrectionists. For most of us who lived through that violent insurrection, it wasn't a day of love, it was a day of hatred and sickening violence. But that's the great thing about the First Amendment. It's up to you. You can say whatever you want. If you don't like the fact that someone's called you a hate group, then you get up and then you rebut them, you denounce them. I've heard Chairman Jordan say it a dozen times in our hearings, and I agree with him. The proper response to speech you don't like is counter speech, not government prosecution, not government censorship. Counterpose honest speech to dishonest speech, the truth to the lies. Let the public figure it out. Whatever happened to I disagree with everything you say, but I will stand with my life for your right to say it. We need less vendetta and more Voltaire. All of this is a disgrace. When DOJ was founded in 1870, 156 years ago, it was to protect the newly freed African Americans against the Ku Klux Klan, which was rampaging violence throughout the South. Todd Blanche has capsized DOJ's commitment to the rights of all and disgraced the department. He has directed DOJ to savage the SPLC while he does everything in his power with the president to aid and abet the right-wing extremists who commit acts of violence against racial minorities. Just 2 weeks after becoming acting AG, he moved to vacate the criminal convictions of the leaders of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers for seditious conspiracy. They were convicted and sentenced to jail for many, many years. Seditious conspiracy means working to overthrow the government of the United States. These were crimes so toxic that President Trump wouldn't even pardon them when he was pardoning en masse more than 1,600 other cop-beating, racist January 6 rioters and insurrectionists. These are the people that the DOJ now protects. And now, Todd Blanche wants to create a $1.776 billion taxpayer-funded slush fund to turn the January 6 foot soldiers into MAGA millionaires. And while Blanche was at it, he signed an outrageous super pardon to give not just Donald Trump, but his entire family and all their businesses
How is that standing?
complete and total immunity from any investigation, audit, lawsuit, or
How is that
prosecution
even still
by
standing?
any federal agency for any
badge.
criminal or civil
Hi, Maggie.
violation against the United States up until
Sorry,
this
Dr.
point.
King's knee.
And while
Oh,
systematically
wow.
firing prosecutors and FBI agents who worked on the January 6 investigation, the largest criminal probe in American history, Trump and Blanche are putting January 6 rioters, violent extremists, and their closest allies in key positions throughout the DOJ, like Jared Wise, who urged rioters to kill police officers on January 6. Like Ed Martin, who defended violent cop beaters, both as a defense attorney and a federal prosecutor. He's been given free rein now as DOJ's pardon attorney, despite his long history of consorting with neo-Nazis. Donald Trump nominated Paul Ingrassia, 3 years out of law school, to run the ethics watchdog Office of the Special Counsel, and stood by him after it was revealed that he admitted to having, quote, a bit of a Nazi streak.
Bit of a Nazi
and he
streak.
wrote that the Martin Luther King holiday should be tossed into the seventh circle of hell. The Department of Defense hired Elias Irizarry, an unqualified, inexperienced 24-year-old Trump loyalist and convicted J6 rioter who was pardoned by the president to work on irregular warfare and counterterrorism, and so on.
Oh my God.
We understand that the extremist swamp that gave rise to this criminal indictment against the SPLC is just one more Orwellian attack on the civil rights movement, and one more Kafkaesque prosecution designed to shame and ensnare the righteous and acquit and absolve the guilty. It is a tissue of lies that will join the pantheon of debunked fraudulent prosecutions that DOJ has been excoriated for by dozens of judges across the land, appointed by all different presidents. A few weeks ago, a federal judge in Rhode Island, Judge McElroy, called the government's submissions in a case misleading, if not utterly false. Another judge said that DOJ attorneys had submitted a patently false allegation to the court. Another judge rejected administration officials' testimony as disingenuous, squalid, and dishonorable. And another court found the administration had provided a highly misleading, if not intentionally false, sworn declaration so disingenuous that the court is left with little confidence that the United States can be trusted to tell the truth about anything. I predict it will not be long before another federal judge casts this obscene prosecution to the wind.
Everybody, welcome,
I'm only
K9.
sorry the great name of the House Judiciary Committee has now been made an accomplice to this fraud against the court and the country. I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back. I don't think we're part of the fraud. I think the Southern Poverty Law
Oh, is that what you're
Without
saying?
objection, all of the opening statements will be included in the record.
Jimmy.
Today's witnesses. Dr. Alveda King is the chair of the American Dream Initiative at the American First Policy Institute. She is the daughter of civil rights activist Reverend A.D. King and the niece of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She is the founder of Speak for Life.
She is
an organization
a
that advocates
MAGA.
for the sanctity and dignity
I'm sorry,
of human
she's a
life.
MAGA.
Mr. Brian Fair is the interim CEO and president of the Southern Poverty Law Center. He previously served.
She's been a very, very vocal maggot for many, many years. She's been on their stages. She's been on their show tours. Like she's been at Trump rallies. So this particular member of the King family does not represent Martin Luther King, and in fact works against his legacy, which I find dismaying at most. But yeah, so she's well known as a problem. I mean, she's just a fucking asshole. That's what she is. How about that? She's just an asshole. Yeah.
As the chairman
Get a suit at all,
SPLC's
Josh.
Board of Directors, Mr. Ryan Bangert is the Senior Vice President for Strategic Initiatives and Special Counsel to the President at the Alliance Defending Freedom. He previously served in the Office of the Texas Attorney General and was a litigation partner at Baker Botts LLP. And Professor Mary McCord is a visiting professor of law at the Georgetown University Law Center. She previously served in numerous roles in the Department of Justice. We welcome our witnesses and thank them for appearing today. We'll begin by swearing you in. You know how this works. Would you please rise and raise your right hand?
A good person to have, Mary McCord.
Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, so help you God? The records show that the witnesses have answered in the affirmative. Thank you.
Yeah, she's the one that claims
Please know
Trump
that
is
your
it.
written testimony
Yeah, she's
will
really,
be
she's
entered into the
basically
record in
just
its entirety.
I've seen her on
Accordingly, we
stage
ask
a
that
number of
you
times.
summarize your testimony in 5 minutes. We're just going to start with Mr. Fair, and we're going to go right down the line.
She's like Chet
Mr. Fair,
Hanks.
you are
You know,
recognized
she's
for
like
5
everybody's
minutes.
got that one member of the family.
Good morning, Chairman Jordan,
RFK
Ranking Member
Jr.
Raskin, members of the committee. Last July, I took on a 1-year leave from teaching to become the interim head of the Southern Poverty Law Center. So my testimony today will be one of my last official acts in this role. It has been one of the greatest honors of my life to work alongside the talented, dedicated, and principled SPLC staff. For 55 years, with the support of generous donors who appreciate our work, the SPLC has fought racial terror, white supremacy, and other forms of discrimination and hate, seeking to build and defend a multiracial democracy where we can all live and thrive. That was the goal of the Civil Rights Movement, and it is our mission. We are known for exposing and dismantling extremist hate groups. We took on the United Klans of America, whose hateful violence killed 4 little girls in the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing, and we sued them out of existence. In the decades since, hate has continued, but so have our efforts to expose it through litigation, policy, research, and education. We fight for the underdog, the poor, the unhoused, the hungry, the incarcerated, the disenfranchised, the immigrant, the outcast, the vilified. Many groups, and some in this room, have misrepresented our work, including our confidential informant program, repeating various false allegations. Some say we've lost our way. That's false. We've never lost our North Star, a fair and just society for every person. All our programs advance that mission. Our work saves lives, but it comes at a price. Since our earliest days, we've been targeted by those who oppose our mission. Our office was firebombed, our staff threatened, our leaders the target of assassination. We know political violence. We unequivocally condemn it. However, despite the danger, we will not stop exposing hate. This morning, we released our annual Year in Hate and Extremism report. It chronicles how the hard right has weaponized the levers of government to weaken the political and economic power of non-whites, immigrants, women, the LGBTQ+ community, religious minorities, and the poor. The forces turning back hard-won progress against discrimination are unrelenting and unashamed. The SPLC, alongside many civil rights groups and democracy defenders, is resisting them. To American people of goodwill, especially those left out of the
Yes.
American promise.
So true,
Your
Dan.
civic participation
So true.
matters now more than any time since the Civil Rights Movement. Today, I'm joined by several people who inspire our work. First, Ms. Karen Finn and her son Aaron are here. Aaron faced expulsion from school for alleged conduct that was a manifestation of his disability. Aaron lives with autism, and federal law prohibits schools from excluding students for behaviors connected to their disabilities. We sued, and with his mother's courage and dedication and his perseverance, Aaron graduated from that school in 2023. Ms. Tanya Gersh is also here. A Jewish
Good morning,
Montana
Lee.
mom, Gersh and her family became the target
excellent.
of relentless anti-Semitic harassment from white nationalists, including threatening phone calls where all that could be heard on the line was gunshots. With the center's help, Gersh won a $14 million judgment against the neo-Nazi who incited her harassers. We stand with Karen. Aaron,
This is the
Tanya.
SPLC hearing, judiciary basically going after. This gentleman is the head of the SPLC, so we haven't heard from him. This is the second hearing on the SPLC that they've had. We watched the first one. So we're replaying that from this morning, and then I've got a few articles. You know, pretty light day actually.
And thousands we protect every day. Fannie Lou Hamer said, "Nobody's free until everybody's free." The SPLC will continue our constitutionally protected work to ensure everyone in this country is treated with dignity, lives lives free of discrimination, and enjoys liberty and opportunity to thrive. These promises of our democracy are not self-executing. They require our collective vigilance, and we will continue to defend them when they come under attack. Finally, I must note that I'm constrained in answering some questions today because they may touch on matters involving pending criminal litigation against the SPLC or conversations that I've had with counsel. Frankly, this constraint is the result of the majority's injecting itself into a pending criminal matter 3 days after it was filed, and then refusing our request to delay this hearing until that case is resolved.
That's right.
I will answer what I can.
Thank you, Mr. Fair. I would just point out this committee has had hearings on the activities of the SPLC prior to the indictment
shut the
from
fuck
the Justice
up.
Department. We thank you for your statement.
the fuck up.
Dr. King, you are now recognized for 5 minutes.
Oh boy.
Mr. Chairman, ranking member, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to testify today. I was born on January 22nd, 1951, not with a silver spoon in my mouth, but singing Amazing Grace and pledging allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. In other words, I was born into a Christian family led by Baptist preachers and men and women who loved God, believed in God, proclaimed the gospel of Jesus Christ, and embraced the truth found in Acts 17:26. And of one blood, God made every nation of people to dwell on the face of the earth. I was taught from birth to love, to repent, to forgive, to trust God, and to love my fellow brothers and sisters.
Oh, God.
Human dignity is a creed of our family, the King family legacy. My uncle, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., did not dedicate his life to dividing people into categories of oppressor and oppressed. He dedicated his life to bringing people together under the truth that every person bears the image of God. I come before you today not in anger, but in deep concern. I'm not sure anyone can fully grasp the emotions of a young girl who grew up in a family that sacrificed so much for justice and reconciliation, only to spend much of her adult life being watched, shadowed, criticized, and even threatened because she believes in God and Jesus Christ and the sanctity of life and in the American dream. My family legacy reflects the very truth that America is strongest when we recognize our common humanity. My grandmother's family came from the west coast of Africa. My grandfather's family came from Ireland. My mother's family included Cherokee roots. I have spent my entire life living the reality that America is not a collection of competing tribes. America is one people under God. That is why I am troubled by the conduct and messaging of organizations that claim to fight hatred while profiteering from division.
What?
Recent allegations reportedly contained in a federal superseding indictment raised serious questions
No, they
about the
didn't.
Southern Poverty Law Center's activities.
No, it
Individuals
didn't.
associated with organizations the
Yeah,
SPLC itself labeled
thank
as
you. Gal
extremist or
knows.
hate groups allegedly received substantial payments over many years. The indictment shares of payments totaling hundreds of thousands and in some cases more than $1 million to sources connected to white supremacist, neo-Nazi, and Ku Klux Klan organizations. Those allegations deserve careful examination. They reveal a troubling contradiction. Americans who faithfully donate their hard-earned money, many of them senior citizens like me, who sincerely want to combat racism and hatred, deserve transparency and accountability about how those funds are being used. America does not need more manufactured racial tension. We do need more labels with the sole and do not need more labels with the sole intention to drive us apart.
Ooh, I think
We
you
do
were
not need more
speaking.
lists
You
that
said it.
place citizens under suspicion because they hold sincere beliefs about faith, family, life,
Yeah.
or public
Okay.
policy. I know myself about being labeled. Let me be clear. I reject racism. I reject hatred. I reject white
But she
supremacy.
supports the
I reject any
institutions that drive those
ideology that
things.
seeks to elevate one group of people above another. But I also reject the notion that Americans who hold traditional Christian beliefs should be treated as threats or terrorists simply because we disagree with a prevailing political thought. Today, I
I
still
know,
have a
Neil.
dream.
I love you.
I dream that one day we will move beyond black power and white power and embrace God's power and human dignity. I dream that Americans will one day see each other not as enemies, but as neighbors. I dream that we will hear each other, see each other, and recognize that every human life has value from the womb to the tomb and beyond. We are, as Scripture teaches, as science testified, one blood, one human race. And if we remember that truth, we can build a future worthy of the sacrifices made by those who came before us. We must speak out for truth and against the forces that would manufacture hate, fear, division, and violence simply to line their pockets and further their political ambitions. Thank you. God bless America, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
God bless
This
you.
is my dream
Thank
too,
you. God
Dan.
bless you. Well done.
Well done.
Mr. Banger, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Jim is such a dick.
Thank you, Chairman Jordan, Ranking Member Raskin, and members of the committee for the opportunity to testify before you today. Over 50 years ago, the SPLC was founded to fight the scourge of racism, but the SPLC has drifted from that founding purpose. The indictment alleges that the SPLC deceived donors
This
into
is
funding
just
the racist
dumb.
groups it claimed to
This
fight.
is so dumb.
But beyond these shocking allegations of hypocrisy
Mr.
lies a broader
Banger.
story. How the SPLC tarred mainstream conservative organizations as hate groups.
Like,
And then
like
relentlessly
what?
sought to silence those groups by persuading America's leading financial and technology firms to exclude them from the marketplace.
Oh, this is about money.
ADF is one of those organizations. We've been on the SPLC's hate map since 2016, which is
2016?
odd, given that we reject racism. Our Christian faith teaches that all are created equal and all are made in the image of God. But it makes sense when you understand today's SPLC, in the words of some, as a political hit operation. The SPLC has branded ADF and others
God.
like us as hate groups.
What are you?
Solely because it disagrees
Is
with
this
our
the
work,
division of families or
grounded in our
something?
religious conviction on behalf of children told by the
Banger.
medical establishment to disfigure and permanently mutilate their bodies.
Oh, shut
On
up.
behalf of the most
Why don't you
vulnerable
stop
among
taking
us,
Viagra for that
both
limp
those
dick of
unborn
yours
and those at the
then?
end of life. Our advocacy for these mainstream positions has repeatedly led us to the U.S. Supreme Court, where we have secured 18 victories since 2011, including 2 more cases under submission today. In fact, the SPLC even quietly filed an amicus brief supporting one of ADF's Supreme Court wins on behalf of freedom of association and donor privacy. But the SPLC cannot abide
Oh, the
our
Alliance
work on behalf
Defending
of the
Freedom.
vulnerable, parents, children, and the unborn. So it has slandered ADF and other groups like us as hate groups, and sought to lock
Is
us
it
out
slander,
of the
though,
public
if
square.
it's true?
The SPLC began targeting mainstream Christian and conservative organizations by adding them to their hate map
Look, goes
in
right to your
2010.
donation page.
7 years later, the SPLC's fundraising skyrocketed in response to the notorious Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville.
Yeah, because people
But this
were mad
wasn't a
about
stroke of good
racism.
luck. The superseding indictment
fucking
alleged that the
idiot.
SPLC funded and supported one of its ringleaders. In the immediate
Get
aftermath of
information about
Charlottesville,
it,
the
and it
SPLC
worked.
received large donations or commitments from leading firms and personalities, including JP Morgan Chase, Facebook, Google, Twitter, and even Tim Cook at Apple. In 2018, it launched a
Well,
coalition of left-wing
mad about that?
organizations called Change the Terms. They understood that you don't have to win a debate with your opponents if they're invisible. So the coalition targeted critical banking, payment processing, donor advisory,
No!
technology, and
Okay, listen, Mr. Bangert, Mr. ADF, that sounds a lot like AFD. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, the SPLC didn't debank you, okay? The SPLC didn't debank you. The banks make those decisions. The law firms make those decisions. Everybody makes their decisions. That's what capitalism is. That's what you want. So everybody makes their own decisions. The SPLC is not able to make Bank of America do anything. Okay? They can't make anything happen. And you get on those lists because of your actions. That's it. And if their donations went up, that means that people really thought you guys were stupid for attacking them. That's why their donations went up, is because people saw, well, first of all, the good work that they did after Charlottesville. Also, people will give more because they understand, because we're smart enough to know, unlike your donors or your voters, we're smart enough to know that this is just an attack on an agency that you don't like. And when, in fact, what you should be doing is looking more at your own actions and really, truly what you're looking for and what you're working for, and whether or not that's honorable, because they're doing the honorable work. You are not, sir. Mr. Bangert. Uh-oh, what do we got here? Hold on. God, I can't. I don't know why. Okay, I know what I can do. Hold on. I can do this other thing. Hold on. I just have to do it a little differently here. Now that I have this, be quiet. Okay, I can do it from here. I love you, Gal. I love you so much. I love you so much. Hold on. Let me share this. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, all right. The SPL Center has an extensive background on this group. They've teamed up with Focus on the Family before and look to be part of the bathroom bill, which explains all of the anti-LGBTQ propaganda we're seeing from these same anti-mask people. And this is the alliance. But look at this. It's August 26, 2021. TBT, gal. 5 years ago, you were looking into the Alliance Defending Freedom. I just love you I love my friends so much. Well, this is an aha moment. Along with many other Christian right groups, they traveled to Russia in 2014. Wow, a lot of stuff happened around that, right? Oh my God, I'm going to link this entire thread. There's clearing the fog. I'm going to link this entire thread. I love our friends. Our friends are so smart, y'all. Can I just tell you, we're just the luckiest people in the world. We are so lucky. I got to tell you, we got smart ass friends.
digital communications
5 years ago.
infrastructure.
Jesus.
It embedded the SPLC within that infrastructure of corporate
Gal
decision
does it
making,
again.
allowing it to influence terms
That's
of
my
engagement,
girl.
flag business
That's my
partners, and
baby.
bully corporations into
I
compliance.
love that woman.
In short, the SPLC mobilized corporate
I do
America
love that woman.
to crush the voices of mainstream
I
conservative
don't care who knows
organizations.
it.
The Biden years saw the SPLC deepen its presence in America's political and corporate infrastructure. The Biden DOJ and White House met regularly with SPLC officials.
Telling you, those
Amazon
ladies, man.
used the SPLC to blackball groups from its Amazon Smile Giving
Freebird.
program.
Oh, God.
So did the
shit
employee
she came
charitable
up
giving
with.
platform Benevity, which serves nearly a quarter of the Fortune 1000. ADF saw tangible impacts. We lost access to the Amazon Smile program.
Then that's a Jeff
Nonprofit pricing
Bezos
from large
thing,
technology
bitch.
providers like Microsoft, Adobe, and Intuit.
That's not, those are
Web hosting
private
on the Pantheon
companies.
platform, and access to donor-advised funds at Fidelity.
Okay, well,
A
that's a
partisan
Fidelity
political organization
decision.
like the SPLC
Oh my God,
should
y'all.
never have been allowed to function as an unaccountable private gatekeeper to critical financial, technology, and communication.
I guess your actions have consequences then, don't they, Mr. Bangert? I guess your actions have consequences. And why did you go to Moscow in 2014? What's going on, Mr. Bangert? Who do you serve? Yeah, take it up to the billionaires' homes. There you go. Yeah, Dan, that's right. Why don't you take it up with fucking Jeff Bezos or Tim Apple or what's his name, Bill Microsoft? Why don't you take it up with those guys? Okay, why don't you do that? Loungers against losers. I love it. No, you can't, Dan. You're going to hurt his feelings because this is the party of feelings. Nothing more than feelings, trying to forget mine. Feelings so real. Feelings. Oh, maggots have feelings. They're never gonna let them go. These feelings so real. Crying. Maggots always crying. Thinking that their feelings make any sense. Feelings. Maggots have feelings. They're never gonna let them go. These feelings so real. Yeah, that's our song for maggots when they're having a moment.
Services.
Here he goes.
And
He's been a victim his
never
entire
have
life.
accepted the word of an organization that is itself severely compromised. In addition to standing indicted today, the SPLC has paid millions in settlements for defamation.
Yeah, okay, well, that happens.
In 2019,
due
amid
process.
staff reports of a systemic culture of racism and sexism. It received an F from Charity Navigator for hoarding donor money to the tune of more than $800 million, much of it offshore.
Okay. Here's the other thing. I would look into that, but here's the other thing. There are times when you get a bad rating if you're holding too much, or if you're holding a lot of money in like reserves. Sometimes you get a bad rating on how you're using your reserves. So there could be a lot of reasons for that, and I'm sure there's whatever reasons there are. But it also sounds like when the SPLC stepped over the line, that they got the right remedy for it. So I'm not sure where the drama is, because if like organizations do make mistakes, or they overstate, or they just don't have enough evidence to substantiate their claims. You know what I mean? Like there's a ton of reasons that they could lose in court. At the same time, I wouldn't necessarily give it the weight that these guys are giving it, because frankly, that's just the cost of doing business. And plenty of corporations have paid plenty of settlements. And I can almost imagine, Mr. Bangert, that you might have had to pay 1 or 2 settlements for disgruntled employees. I don't know. It could happen, I'm sure. But anyway, I digress.
Former employees have said that the SPLC is little more than a highly profitable scam.
No.
The time has come to uproot the SPLC from America's financial and technology infrastructure. And Congress can help. Investigations of the SPLC can reach beyond the indictment to examine the SPLC's relationships with financial institutions, technology companies, and digital communications.
Let's look at your relationships.
Moreover, Congress can pass legislation barring federally insured financial institutions from delegating decision-making to private entities that discriminate based
That's
on
never going to
First
work.
Amendment
That's not
protected
how businesses
activity.
make the decision
These
to
would be
bar
critical steps
different
for
people.
dismantling
Stop it.
the SPLC's shadow censorship regime.
dumb.
We thank the committee for its interest in doing so.
So dumb.
Thank you, Mr. Bangert.
Mr.
Professor McCord, you're recognized.
Members of the committee, thank you for inviting me to testify.
Mary, don't let me
Department of
down.
Justice should not use its power as a weapon
I guess
against
so.
people and organizations.
Apparently,
disliked
they
by the
run
president.
everything. Oomph,
No one
didn't
has
you
said
know?
this better than former U.S. Supreme Court Justice and U.S. Attorney General Robert Jackson in his 1940 speech, The Federal Prosecutor.
Uh-oh.
He
Mary's going
said,
deep.
"The prosecutor has more control over life, liberty, and
They
reputation
run all the
than any
banks.
other person in America. The prosecutor can order arrests, present cases to the grand jury in secret session, and on the basis of his one-sided presentation of the facts, can cause the citizen to be indicted and
No,
held
Dan.
for trial. If the prosecutor is obliged to choose his cases, it follows that he can choose his defendants. It is in this realm in which the prosecutor picks some person whom he dislikes or desires to embarrass, or selects some group of unpopular persons and then looks for an offense, that the greatest danger of abuse of the prosecuting power lies.
Ooh, ouch.
It is here that law enforcement becomes personal, and the real crime becomes that of being unpopular with the predominant or governing group, being attached to the wrong political views, or being personally obnoxious to or in the way of the prosecutor himself. What Justice Jackson warned about has come to pass. The DOJ has initiated fraud investigations against political enemies such as New York Attorney General Letitia James, Federal Reserve Board member Lisa Cook, and former Chair Jerome Powell, and Senator Adam Schiff. And at the same time, the president has granted clemency to more than 70 allies, donors, and others convicted of hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud across his 2 terms, often after receiving financial or other benefits from them. And he, along with his Attorney General nominee, have orchestrated a fraud on the court, settling the president's collusive lawsuit against the IRS, in which he, his family members, and his businesses all received from the Justice
This is
Department
crazy.
an effective pardon
Come
for
on
criminal
now.
and civil investigations,
can't do
audits,
that.
claims,
That's
and
not right.
prosecutions by any federal
Big
department or
Red
agency
Ring.
on any subject based on anything that could have been
They're
initiated
trying.
as of the date of the
They're
settlement,
trying.
known or unknown. The so-called settlement came after a federal judge ordered briefing on whether there was actual adversity between the parties, a constitutional requirement for a lawsuit. This one-sided use of prosecutorial power extends to the President's National Security Presidential Memorandum 7. Using the domestic terrorism label, it mandates that federal government, including the DOJ, use every tool in its toolbox to target groups with ideologies this administration perceives as, quote, anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity, extremism on migration, race, and gender, and hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. NSPM 7 states that the groups and entities that perpetuate this extremism have created a movement that embraces and elevates violence to achieve policy outcomes. It relies for support on the murder of Charlie Kirk, assassination attempts against the president and Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and the so-called riots in protest of ICE activity. And although murders and threats of violence are reprehensible and illegal, the examples do not justify the stark lack
right,
of
Griffin.
parity in NSPM 7's treatment of supposedly dangerous ideologies. There is no mention in NSPM 7 of the politically motivated murders of Minnesota Democratic legislator Melissa Hortman and her husband, or the mass shootings committed in Buffalo, New York, El Paso, Texas, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania by white supremacists who justified their violence based on the Great Replacement theory. The one-sided memorandum not only lacks legitimacy, it raises the stakes for organizations that hold views the administration dislikes. It has the strong potential to lead to the discriminatory targeting of organizations based on the exercise of First Amendment rights. Within months of then Attorney General Pam Bondi's December 2025 memo reminding prosecutors of the many federal criminal provisions that might be used in implementing NSPM 7, the SPLC was indicted. SPLC has for decades spoken out against racial violence, sued to protect civil rights and dismantle hate groups, and worked cooperatively with law enforcement.
Yeah.
Commenting on the charges, the president called SPLC one of the greatest political scams in American history. I'm not here to discuss the substance of the charges against SPLC, which is being ably defended in court, but the targeting of the organization harkens the very danger Justice Jackson warned about, that law enforcement becomes personal and the real crime becomes that of being unpopular with the predominant or governing group, being attached to the wrong political views, or being personally obnoxious to or in the way of the prosecutor himself. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Ouch.
We will now move to 5-minute questions. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Rice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Professor McCord, I congratulate you on your ad hominem attacks on the president, and you're deflecting any part of answers as to the nature of this hearing.
Daryl.
Your absence of that shows a
boy.
great deal about how you have,
Oh my
you have
God,
no
what
answers
happened to
for our
him?
questions, but you have answers for your own party persuasion. Mr. Bangert, I apologize in advance. I'm going to focus a little bit over here, but it's not because you haven't, your organization hasn't been a subject of the attacks
Ching.
by Mr. Fair's organization.
Ozempic. Daryl has Ozempic face, and he's trying to grow a beard to hide his Ozempic face. Daryl, you're looking like maybe he's sick. Is he sick? Either he's sick or he's done a weight loss journey. Or he's on his weight loss journey. He probably took this stuff because the president said it was a good idea and he didn't want to be fat. Or else he's sick. He could be sick. I don't know. I hope he's not. I hope it's just
For what
Ozempic
is now
face.
a decade and a half.
Well, who knows?
Dr. King, I'll
Arm is a
start
bit.
with you. You wear a cross here
Okay,
today.
I'm not doing this.
You spoke of God and Jesus Christ, your deep faith,
Fake.
and the
Fake.
conviction that
Fake.
comes with that faith as
Fake.
to
Fake.
how a just placed in the record.
Without objection.
You're
And
fake.
lastly, Mr. Chairman, for this hearing too,
The fact that the SPLC had an informant in a white nationalist group at the
No
infamous
shame.
Unite the Right
You
rally
Christianity.
in August
God,
of 2017
idiots.
in Charlottesville as some kind of indictment of the SPLC. But didn't that SPLC informant
Oh, no.
create the information that allowed the SPLC to send 3 different FBI field offices a 45-page memorandum warning
God.
of planned violence and the potential for violence at this extremist confab?
That is the facts that have been represented in court.
Mr. Fair, is it true that the SPLC sent a memo based on that informant's work to 3 different FBI field offices?
Yes, it is.
Okay. The chairman spoke with some indignation about the fact that there were $3 million or $4 million spent giving to undercover informants to try to expose the work of the extremist groups, as in Charlottesville in 2017, where
Over
Heather
how
Heyer
many
was
years?
killed by a fanatic racist. I'm just curious how the members of the panel feel about this proposed $1.776 billion political slush fund set up for the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and other convicted criminals and rioters from January 6th. Do you think that that fund should be shut down and any other similar fund, Mr. Fair?
Yeah,
Yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Dr. King, do you agree that that should be shut down?
I will not speak on whether that particular fund should be
Or
shut
any
down.
such fund, any-
I think some of these slush funds that SPLC is using,
Okay, but my question is
Those
about
aren't
the one
slush funds,
proposed
they're
by Todd
donations.
Blanche. It's a yes or no?
I will not answer on it.
Okay.
I think
Mr.
that
Banger,
it's
Dr. King.
killing the
I knew what you
babies
meant.
and cutting the penises off. And so any slush
Okay,
fund is
I have limited time. We can
money
get,
in that is the problem.
Mr. Banger, do you believe that the $1.776 billion political slush fund should be
Penises
shut
off?
down
What does
in
that
any
have to
similar
do with
fund?
it?
I think that's a question for Congress to answer.
Why is she
Okay, and
talking
Professor
about baby
McCord, what do you think?
penises
Should
anyway?
that political slush fund be shut
Oh my
down?
God.
Yes, it
And-
should.
And any similar slush fund?
Yes, it should.
Okay. So
Mary's not fucking around.
the conceit of the prosecution, this whole hearing,
Trying
the
to
whole
say the
attack on the
booze is the best.
SPLC
I know,
is that there's
I
some
heard that.
contradiction
It's crazy.
between fighting against
The
extremist
woo-woo.
hate and racism for decades and then sending people undercover as informants to find out what these groups are doing. Do you agree that there's a contradiction, Professor McCord?
I agree that it is a very useful law enforcement tool to use informants and cooperators to learn more, not just about hate groups and potential domestic violent extremism, but also as a tool to dismantle drug trafficking groups and human trafficking groups.
So if the FBI sent someone undercover to expose a mafia organization, narco traffickers, international human traffickers, that wouldn't mean that the FBI is supporting those groups, would it?
Right.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a
Max
matter
can
of
follow.
law,
she's
and
from
as a
the
matter of
future.
fact, can you have a criminal fraud if there are no victims of the
Baby
fraud?
penises. Oh my God. You can't.
To have a criminal fraud, you have to have made statements and fraudulently to induce some activity. And if it did not induce some sort of activity, like a gift or donation, then there is no.
Well, what I don't understand is that suddenly, out of the blue, there's a claim that the Southern Poverty Law Center is engaged in fraud because it's been extremely effective. I wish it had been even more effective, for example, in stopping the Oklahoma City bombing, where nearly 200 people were killed in an act of fanatical white nationalism. But it's been quite effective. I don't know of any group that's been more effective, other than potentially the FBI itself, in stopping extremist white violence. Well, do you believe that it is an act of fraud when the donors to the group understand perfectly well that people are being sent undercover to try to get information on what these groups are doing?
If donors were not defrauded, and no donors have come forward, to my knowledge, suggesting that they were unaware of what the SPLC was doing, that program has been known for a long time, and so that creates a problem.
I mean, it just seems to me amazing to be alleging a fraud when there are no victims. When I just looked up the Trump University case, there were hundreds and hundreds of people coming forward screaming to high heaven about how they'd been ripped off and exploited by this fake university, and they won $25 million.
You did, Oren. I'm
So
sorry.
do you pay the same
morning.
people to do the bomb and then go and comfort the people from being bombed? You pay the same people to do both jobs? That's kind of fraud to me. That's weird and chaotic and confusing.
Well,
No,
Dr.
that's
King, I
not
don't think there's
actually-
any allegation that anybody who was working for the Southern Poverty Law Center bombed anyone. Do you have information to that effect? Because
I don't personally, but outside agitators did bomb our house in '63 and then ran back and took off the Ku Klux Klan sheets and put on police things and ran up in the yard.
Well,
And
that's
it
a
was the same
statement.
people.
Well,
It
those
was
are-
crazy.
I'm with you, and
Those are
that's a
the
statement about the racism of that police force
Jesus.
working with the Ku Klux
Hey,
Klan.
Oh,
y'all
my
pay
God.
both of them to do the double jobs. SPLC does.
No,
Really,
my
you
God.
hire them to do the bombing, then
You're
you hire
asserting
them
a
to
lot
do
of
the
things.
bombing. That's
People.
weird.
Dr. King, you're asserting a lot of things under oath, and you haven't brought the evidence with
Yeah,
you.
you
so
better
I
be
think-
I'll
careful.
get some for you.
Okay, please, bring us the evidence, and I'll yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
I'll get
Gentleman
some.
yields
Oh,
back.
boy.
Mr. Fair,
Go
did the
for
Southern
it,
Poverty Law
man.
Center use donor
She
money
is a
to
pain
have
in the
field
fucking
sources
ass, and
attend
she
extremist
talks
rallies across
openly
the country?
all the time and undermines fucking democracy.
Mr. Chairman,
It's a simple question. Did you use your donor money for that purpose?
we used donor money
That's part of the program.
It's a yes or
to
no?
pay confidential informants
Yeah,
to
that was part of our
infiltrate
programming.
extremist
That's correct.
organizations.
Did the Southern Poverty Law Center use donor dollars to have field sources host extremist rallies throughout the country?
No,
Not to my knowledge.
no.
That's not what the indictment says. Did the Southern Poverty Law
doesn't
Center use
matter.
donor dollars to have field sources grow existing chapters of extremist groups?
No,
Mr. Chairman,
you're
I
you're
said,
characterizing
Mr. Fair.
activities.
Did you use donor money for the purpose I just read? This
No.
I'm reading straight from the superseding indictment.
No,
and Mr. Chairman, the indictment will be
purpose
managed
wasn't
and
to grow the
responded to by
organization.
counsel in the criminal case that's
Yeah,
You
pending.
just
Stop
answered a
asking
question
him
from
about
Mr.
that.
Raskin concerning the indictment. He asked you, did field sources send information to the FBI that help with things?
That's
You
a
answered that
factual-
question. I'm
Oh
That's
my
a
asking,
matter
God.
of public knowledge.
That's in our
Mr. Chairman.
public filing.
did the Southern Poverty
Chairman.
Law Center use donor money to have
Look at
field
him
sources
shaking.
create new chapters of extremist groups?
Again,
Look at him shaking. No, you want to know what they did? They probably were trying to understand in different areas where the underground extremists were. So yeah, if they're paying someone and they're in the process of growing that and trying to identify other extremists in the area and draw them in. But it was not in order to grow those chapters. It was in order to gather evidence so that you can bring them down, which is exactly what they did. This is disingenuous bullshit. And any American should be against this type of thing.
Mr. Chairman.
And
Did the Southern Poverty Law
oh,
Center?
and by the way, Jim Jordan, why did you cover up sexual abuse at Ohio State University for decades? Why were you complicit in the sexual abuse of young people at Ohio State University for decades? I want that investigated. I want that investigated. So you can word salad your way to characterize their activities as somehow supporting the organizations, or you can be a grown-up and understand exactly what they were doing, as their donors do. I've donated to them in the past. So I'm sorry, this is fake outrage, and everyone, hi, Stephanie. Oh, Juno, the cruise is amazing. Oh my God, I'm so happy. Oh, Stephanie, congrats. Oh, enjoy that. I hope you have beautiful weather. Oh, I hope you have so much fun. Oh, that's so sweet. Thanks for checking in, girl. That's so kind of you. I hope you have a great time. Yeah, right, Jen Griffey? Like this is the point, okay? What about that? And the fact that donors absolutely know what these folks are doing and have shown with their feet and their dollars that they support it. And no, ma'am, you can't equate the racist police who were members of the Klan, well documented. If that was in your particular, when they bombed the King household, yeah, I would not be shocked to find out that the local police were Klan members. I would not be shocked. That's a different situation. Those are just racist people. The Southern Poverty Law Center didn't bomb themselves. There's no evidence of that. And believe me, they would have been looked at as bombing themselves as part of the investigation. I can guarantee you. So it's offensive that she would claim that those two situations are similar, because they're just simply not. Or they are, in the respect that the people who bombed the SPLC are exactly the same type of people who were cops during the day and then Klan members at night. So yeah, maybe she's right. They're the same people, but it's not the same context. They have no evidence of anything. I read the superseding indictment. It's bullshit. It's a lot of feelings. It's a lot of feelings. I don't know. I haven't seen the grand jury documents.
Use donor money to recruit new individuals into those extremist groups?
Probably part of their activity was to do that.
I assume you don't want me to answer since you're not giving me time to answer.
No, I'm giving you time to answer because that's a yes. Or did you use your donors' money for that purpose?
Come on,
yes or no?
Mr. Fair,
Again,
don't
those issues will be
litigate it.
resolved in the pending allegations against the
Just say that.
SPLC.
It seems to me if the answer is no, you could say no.
Excuse me.
We have asserted that the allegations are false.
Did the Southern Poverty Law Center use donor money to have field sources make donations to extremist group leaders and purchase
Look at him
materials
shake.
for cross
Look at him
burners?
jump around.
It's alleged in the indictment.
What's
Did it
wrong
happen?
with this
We've
bitch?
alleged that those allegations are false.
Did Southern Poverty Law Center use donor dollars to have field sources create racist paraphernalia that extremist groups sold at rallies?
Ooh, whale watching. Ooh,
We've alleged
love
that those
that.
allegations are false.
Okay, how about this? What is Fox photography?
What is Fox photography?
Mr. Chairman, what I've learned about Fox photography, I've learned from counsel in conversations with counsel,
How about Northwest Technologies?
and they're covered by the attorney-client privilege.
No, I'm not. These are. Well, did the Southern Poverty Law Center establish shell companies to pay to run the money through to then pay the field sources?
That would actually make.
Again,
Oh my God. Are you telling me that this is somehow a gotcha? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Are you fucking kidding me? That's the big gotcha? Is that they set up a shell company to pay the informants from? Are you kidding me right now? Are you fucking joking? How else would they pay informants? Because I don't think you want a paper trail showing that the Southern Poverty Law Center is paying the guy so that his co per people in the bad place can find out that he's being paid by the Southern Poverty Law Center as an informant. Like, I'm sorry. Can we stop with the nonsense? This is so dumb. This is so dumb. Like, what the fuck? It's like, this is just like illogical. Where's Mr. Spock? I need Mr. Spock.
All
This
of the
is dumb.
allegations that you are referring to, Chairman Jordan, will be
Well, how about this?
responded to by our counsel in the Middle District of Alabama.
Yeah, so shut up.
Did you pay the field sources directly, or did you pay them through an intermediary?
Stop it. It's
Mr.
part of the case
Chairman
before
Jordan,
us.
Yep.
Our counsel will respond to all the allegations in the indictment
In the
in the case
appropriate
pending in
place.
the Middle District.
Well,
of
there's all these companies that you sent money to. Center
Oh my
Investigative
God.
Agency, not the CIA, but your CIA, Fox Photography,
What?
Northwest Technology,
What?
Tech Writers Group, Rare Books Warehouses, Imagery Link, J&J Electronics, and Kelly's Marine. And I'm just want to know if that was the intermediate shell companies that you guys set up to pay the field sources.
That's what you would
that
do.
true?
Oh my God.
Will the good chairman yield for just a
No,
moment?
is
I got just a
dumb.
minute and a half, and then I'll be happy to entertain a question you may
Chairman
have.
Jordan, our counsel will respond to all the allegations
Crazy
in the
dog.
Middle District of Alabama, as
Okay.
the process allows.
Did you do it all for the money?
Oh my God.
When you said now, I think the Southern Poverty Law Center said you're no longer going to use these field sources. You're going to stop the program. But you did it for multiple years. And according to the indictment, it was $4 million that you shelled out to these various field sources to engage in all the activities I just
I thought
read.
it was 3 million.
Was it all
Wait,
about
how
the
did it
money?
grow a million?
As we've said in our public statement,
All
Chairman
about the
Jordan,
money. Come
we
on.
did it to protect our staff and to protect the public.
Jesus
Did
Christ.
fundraising increase after paying people to stay in these groups who actually wanted out of them? Did your fundraising increase?
What?
Did the donations coming in increase?
What? What would those
Chairman Jordan,
things be correlated?
I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to.
Why
when
would
you
be the
say-
How about this?
correlation
After
between
the
those
crazy
two
Charlottesville
things?
rally, did fundraising go up?
What?
Mr. Chairman, our
I'm
fundraising,
yelling. I
When-
guess.
Fundraising
Yeah.
at one of your field sources
there you
helped
go.
coordinate transportation.
Our
There
fundraising
you
went up.
go.
when President
You
Donald
want
Trump was
discovery.
elected in 2016.
Fundraising go up after you paid a field source to coordinate the transportation
Those
at
two
an event in
things were not
Charlottesville where a person was
correlated.
killed. That's
Those
what I'm
two things
asking.
are
Did
not
it go up?
correlated.
Because according to what we know, you went from 51 million to
Oh, man.
133 million in
God,
one
I need to
year.
take my medicine.
And that happened when President Donald Trump was elected.
Just
Who's
say
the
no.
president
Those
of the
two things
National
are not
Socialist Party?
correlated. This is dumb.
You know,
This is so dumb.
you paid him $70,000. He was field source number 30. I just want to know who he is.
For
You know
how?
who he is?
Mr.
What?
Chairman, that's an allegation
What?
in the indictment that will be responded to
Oh
by
my
counsel
God. I
in the Middle
can't.
District of Alabama.
I can't
Time
do
has
this
expired. The chair
anymore.
now recognizes the gentleman from New York.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, in the Justice Department that has lost
God.
more than 10,000 attorneys since the start of President Trump's second term,
cannot.
it's not surprising that the indictment of SPLC are replete with mistakes of fact and law. In the words of one former
just can't.
prosecutor, DOJ's indictment of SPLC, quote, falls egregiously short of alleging a crime, close quote.
Hey, share the
At its
broadcast.
core, the indictment claims that
I think he's wearing
SPLC
a black
defrauded its
robe.
donors
Yeah.
and betrayed its stated mission to dismantle hate groups by paying informants who, quote, were either associated with violent extremist organizations or had infiltrated such organizations at the SPLC's direction, close quote. But this is directly contradicted by the fact that SPLC's donors have said that they knew about and liked the informant program.
I didn't know about
Truth
it.
is
but
that SPLC's use of
seems
paid
reasonable.
informants has been public knowledge for decades. Mr. Fair, has information provided by informants to the SPLC been used to prevent political and racially motivated violence?
I'm sorry, Congressman Adler.
Has information provided by informants to SPLC been used to prevent political and racially motivated violence?
Yes, Congressman Nadler, we shared information that we learned through our confidential informant program with local, state, and federal law enforcement to prevent racial violence against the public at large and to protect our staff.
Thank you. SPLC proactively shared information obtained from its informants with law enforcement agencies in order to prevent the activities of extremist groups, in other words. Question, Mr. Fair, can you explain what actions the SPLC took before the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville in an attempt to help law enforcement?
Congressman Nadler, again, I must say that counsel will respond to all allegations in the indictment in the Middle District of Alabama.
That's not an allegation.
It's part of the allegation.
Okay. Mr. Fair, can you explain how the SPLC's informant program helped thwart a terrorist attack in Las Vegas in 2019?
Yes, Congressman Nadler. In our public filings, we have already stated that
Yeah,
SPLC
exactly,
shared
Lee.
information about a particular white nationalist group, Atom Waffen, and to prevent a terrorist attack in Las Vegas in 2019.
Thank you. And what about Philadelphia's Navy Yard? Can you tell us briefly about that?
Again, in 2018, the SPLC shared information with the FBI and with law enforcement about potential criminal activity by a member of the Vanguard America. We shared that information with law enforcement.
Thank you. It sounds to me like SPLC's informant program has been essential, and that SPLC has worked with law enforcement to keep our community safe. And yet, shortly after the indictment was announced,
Oh, no,
Acting
he just
Attorney
wants
General
them to leave
Todd
them
Blanche
alone.
falsely claimed on Fox
That's what he
News
really wants.
that the DOJ had, quote, no information, unquote, that suggests that SPLC shared information collected through its informant
This is a way to
program
get rid of the
with federal law
watchdogs.
enforcement. This was obviously a lie. In fact, DOJ was forced to walk back Blanche's false claim after SPLC filed a motion to address the government's, quote, materially false statements. Ms. McCord, the Acting Attorney General, the chief law enforcement
Lee.
official
Have
in
a
this
good
country,
conference,
made a
girl.
patently false statement
I love
publicly
you.
about a material fact in an ongoing prosecution. Can you explain why a false statement made by an
talking to
Acting
Lee.
Attorney General
I'm gonna tell you
directly
right now.
related to an ongoing
Everyone
prosecution
needs to be able
would
to retire.
concerning?
That's what I want for everybody.
This is something, first of all, given that Mr. Blanche has now rescinded that statement, it begs the question of whether he knew what he said was false at the time. And if he did, it's a terrible thing to try to prejudice the American public against the SPLC in these criminal charges by making a statement like that, which is really core to the indictment, whether they were sharing information with law enforcement.
Oopsie,
Thank you.
oopsie.
DOJ's case against SPLC, much like the investigations into James Comey, Letitia James, Jerome Powell, Lisa Cook, and so many others, is yet another example of the Trump administration's total weaponization of the Department of Justice. And this committee's hearing today is an example of slander against one of the greatest civil rights organizations we've had. I yield back.
You're right.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
You're right.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, witnesses. I'd like to observe Mr. Bangert, who has served in the Office of the Attorney General of the state of Texas. I want to thank you for your service there. Mr. Fair, in 2012, the Family Research Council was attacked, and the guard in the front of the building was
Okay,
shot.
whatever. Here we go.
The
We're
head
gonna
of
hear
the
about
Family
this
Research Council,
again.
Tony Perkins, made quite note at the time of Southern Poverty Law Center's involvement in that,
Chippy
and
Roy,
putting
Chippy
Family
Roy,
Research Council
Chippy
on their
Roy,
so-called hate map.
Chippy Roy,
Several documents here,
Roy.
work we did, and
Nobody
elated
cares.
White Months later, President Trump
But
had
we
lost
like
the
Zoe
election
Lofgren.
and spent months spreading the big
love
lie
Zoe.
about widespread fraud,
cool.
and the Proud Boys were no longer standing by. On January 6th, they were on the ellipse. They were in the streets,
Yep.
and as we all
And
know,
in
they
December.
were here.
And
they
with
made it
Roger
into our
Stone.
Capitol. Now, as a member of the January 6th Select Committee, I saw firsthand
Yeah.
how organized extremist groups help transform political grievances into coordinated action, hate, and then violence. Before January 6th, the Southern Poverty Law Center spent years warning about organizations like the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and other extremist movements.
No
Professor
orange.
McCord, can you explain what SPLC must have seen in those groups that caused them to raise concerns about them long before their attack on the Capitol?
Yes, Congressmember. Like other research organizations that study the groups with ideologies that espouse things like white supremacism and the Great Replacement theory, and tend to, in some cases, not all cases, but advocate for violence on behalf of those ideologies and in furtherance of those ideologies. These are things that lead SPLC, as other research organizations do, to give warnings about violence that may be coming. And certainly before January 6th, the red flags and the warning signs were there and were communicated by SPLC as well as other organizations.
How did the prosecution of anti-government actors who participated in the storming of the
ASMR.
Capitol on January 6th affect groups like Oath Keepers and the activities of anti-government militias? And what happened after the Trump administration issued its pardons to January 6th insurrection participants? And did the pardons of the January 6th insurrectionists help or hurt the fight against white supremacist violence
That's a good question.
and extremism in this country? 3 questions for you, Professor McCord.
Right after January 6th, we saw groups like the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, the National Three Percenters dismantle their nationwide organizations. We saw the Oath Keepers pretty much dissolve. But of course, with the pardons and the clemency and the commutations, we've seen a resurgence of these groups. We've seen them monetizing things, and we've seen also, unfortunately, members not just of those groups, but people who were pardoned committing additional crimes.
Additional, we have a list of the crimes they've committed, some really disgusting and serious measures. Mr. Fair, if Congress tries to diminish SPLC and dismiss its warnings about groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, what lessons would we miss about the threat posed by organized domestic extremism to our American democracy?
Thank you, Congressman Longwood. The lessons we would miss is that all of us are less safe with the threat of domestic terrorism, that these groups that both express hate
Oh,
and
really?
express
Oh,
white
interesting.
supremacy, that terrorize
I didn't know that.
various groups are a danger to all of us.
I hope he tries to come
And we
after
need to know
Gavin.
about them. We need to
That
know
might be
about,
entertaining.
what they say, and we need to know about the actions that they take. That's what we'll miss.
I thank you for those answers. I think it's really quite telling that the Republican majority on this committee has now had a second hearing to scrutinize SPLC rather than discuss their findings and figure out how to prevent another such attack on our democracy. These lunatics that Donald Trump unleashed back onto America's streets are prepared to go to war for him again. They're violent, they're hate-filled, and they have a president who will not hold them accountable for violating the law. He's pardoned them. He says he wants to give them taxpayer money to reward them. That's the threat we need to be discussing, not the folks at SPLC who are pointing out this threat. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Until it yields back, I would just remind Mr. Fair that the Family Research Council doesn't terrorize anyone.
Stop.
And shortly after you put them on the hate list,
Oh,
an
stop
individual
it.
came into their facility and
Oh,
shot.
okay. All right. So should we
Security
hold
guard. I
you
now recognize the
responsible for all the
gentleman.
violence
Quick
from
unanimous
your
consent request.
individuals? How
Just
about that,
in
Jimmy?
response to the time frame with respect to the SPLC's response to October 7th, an article here from Fox that shows that statement was in fact 3 weeks later on October 28th. I'd like to insert that in the record.
Objection.
And subsequent
Weird.
reports in response to their response saying it's an international incident. There are several reports here showing that they previously responded to other international incidents in Europe and in Australia.
Babies. Oh my God.
unanimous consent?
Babies.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask unanimous
Jesus
consent
Christ.
to introduce the SPLC's hate map, which lists a half a dozen different chapters of the Nation of Islam as anti-Semitic hate groups.
Without objection, the chair now recognizes, and I should have mentioned this earlier, I apologize. If you need a break, just let us know. We'll be happy to give you a break. We understand, because it's going to, as you know, going to go on for a while here. And I think it's the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Cohen.
Which it shouldn't,
Mr.
because
Chair.
this is a waste of time.
Mr. Fair, why was the Southern Poverty Law Center called the Southern Poverty Law Center?
We were founded to defend the poor, to assist the poor, to resist racial terror against poor people across the South. So anti-poverty work has been in our DNA. We continue to do work on behalf of the unhoused, the hungry, the poor.
And your founders, I knew Morris Dees. I know Morris Dees. I haven't seen him in Epic for a while. And Julian Bond was a dear friend of mine. They were two of your founders, were they not?
That's correct.
Were there other founders that people might know?
The three founders, Morris Dees and Joe Levin, came together and named Julian Bond the first president.
Pretty good crew.
Outstanding crew.
Yeah, they all should have gotten presidential medals. I tried to get Julian one, but for some reason, two of our presidents failed. Why, I do not know. So the Southern Poverty Law Center was not formed to go after international discrimination and hate. There's plenty of hate in the South.
Yes.
The South's abundant with hate.
Our initial work was primarily focused in the South, but that work has expanded to cover the entire country.
I don't understand the questioning of some of the people on the panel about suggesting the Southern Poverty Law Center is not concerned about anti-Semitism and Jewish hate. As a person who's been exposed to Jewish hate and anti-Semitism since my birth, I guess, and could get a ton of it on the Mr. Musk's hate-filled organization, a lot of anti-Semitism, which has increased lately. Why would they be asking such questions? You go after anti-Semitism, do you not?
Absolutely. We've, as I said in my early response, for 55 years, we've been resisting anti-Semitism. I mentioned that Tanya Gersh is here today. We've also recently filed 2 lawsuits against the Goem Defense League in Tennessee for attacks on a Jewish center and on Jewish and African American people in Nashville. This is work that we've done, that we will continue to do. Again, anti-Semitism is hateful, and groups that traffic in it, whatever their political ideology, would be identified.
Have you had any Jewish people contact you or Jewish organizations and complain?
No, we have not.
As a Jewish person, I welcome all faiths to come to our aid and support, and many have. Many have. But it's usually when there's anti-Semitism, the Anti-Defamation League is on it. Jewish groups are not afraid to stand up and speak out against anti-Semitism, but none of them have contacted you.
Nor are we afraid to stand up and speak out against anti-Semitism, Congressman Cohen.
What's going on in our country is really scary, and what Ms. Lofgren said was true. We're looking at a president who said, stand by, stand up and stand by, or stand down and stand by. And he has pardoned the people who committed treason against our country, violence against police people, and desecrated our Capitol. They were convicted or pled guilty, and he pardoned them. And now he wants to give them money. And he may not want to leave come January 2029. And he's got his army prepared. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people in ICE aren't J6ers. And that's why they wear their masks. They're not worried about COVID. Not really, no. They're hiding themselves from the public.
Yeah, they are.
And there's a reason for it.
They want to be able to go to Applebee's and
I value your work. When one of my best friends died about 8 years ago, Irvin Salke, who was also a friend of Julian Bond's, an outstanding member of the Ratner Sugarman Lucas law firm, the first African-American integrated law firm in Memphis, I asked that people give memorials to the Southern Poverty Law Center in his honor. I'm proud of every memorial that's been given, and I'm proud of every donation I've made. I thank you for your work, and I thank you for continuing the work of Julian Bond and Morris Dees and Mr. Levin. You are a blessing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The time of the gentleman expired. Chair now
Chairman,
recognizes gentleman from
I've got a unanimous consent
gentleman from
request.
Georgia is recognized.
A statement from Kristen Clark, General Counsel for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, that unequivocally opposes the targeting of the Southern Poverty Law Center,
Without objection.
an organization dedicated to combating
Without ob-
hate violence in America.
Without objection. Chair now recognizes gentleman from Wisconsin for 5 minutes.
No.
Thank you, Chairman.
Oh, yeah.
On page 14 of the Year in Hate report,
I
the
hate this
SPLC
guy.
criticizes
Rothman.
the Alliance Defending
Wait.
Freedom, or to just create
Oh, no,
this
that's Fitzgerald.
ideology
He
that
looks like Grothman, too. Let's get away from the bad people.
Free and fair elections. And we believe that we are a target of this administration because of the effective work we've done for 55 years.
Thank you, sir.
Hell yeah.
I stand with you on your work.
Gentleman's
Wait.
time has expired.
Wait,
Recognize the
I
gentleman
missed
from
him.
Virginia, Mr.
Wait,
Klein.
I missed him. Wait,
Thank you.
no, I love
Conservative
Mr.
poli-
Johnson from Georgia.
Yields back. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Johnson.
I love
Thank you,
him.
Mr. Chairman.
His
This
voice makes me feel comforted.
hearing takes me back to the 50s, the time of McCarthyism, the time of demonic and demonizing attacks against political enemies that was in vogue by the notorious and infamous Joe McCarthy, the House Un-American Activities Committee. This is what this reminds me of. And when I go back to the 50s, I also think about how mainstreamed during that time was white supremacy. It was mainstreamed. It was so mainstreamed that presidents had to call out the troops to maintain order or to bring order. I'm reminded of the racist governor of Arkansas denying entry
Oh, yeah.
for the Little Rock Nine into the all-white Central High School. I'm sure you remember too, Dr. King, back in '57, the little girls trying to get into the building and being spat upon and taunted and threatened. And I'm sure you remember, Dr. King, in 1962 in Mississippi, when James Meredith was to enroll at the University of Mississippi, and President Kennedy had to call out the troops to guarantee that they stopped the riots so that this man could enroll. And then again in '63, when the troops were called out by the president, as George Wallace stood in the door of the school and said, segregation today, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever. I mean, that's mainstream white supremacy.
Yep.
Same thing when the troops had to be called out by President Johnson in 1965 to protect the civil rights marchers from Selma to Montgomery, marching for voting rights. And today, the clock has turned back. White supremacy extremism is again mainstreamed. This president came into office and revoked a 60-year-old executive order banning racial discrimination in federal government hiring practices, saying that it was now unnecessary. We've had the stripping of employment protections from employees of the federal government. We've seen the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice gutted and diverted from its mainstream activities. And at the same time, we have experienced we've experienced attacks on the rule of law. The top wealthy, most powerful law firms, some of which bent the knee to this president because he threatened them. We've seen him go after the mainstream media because they would not renounce diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've seen him go after
top universities trying to get at their research funding, threatening to cut it off, and actually cutting it off unless they rooted out diversity, equity, inclusion. It's mainstream. White supremacy is mainstreamed. Extremism. Nonprofit corporations have been attacked, like the SPLC, organizations that offer legal assistance and provide advocacy for victims of white supremacy and racial discrimination, organizations which advance the cause of civil rights and voting rights for Black people, like the SPLC does. Southern Poverty Law Center is under attack because they're standing up against the erosion of our democracy. Professor Fair, America may not realize that election workers have recently faced bomb threats, harassment, and targeted intimidation simply for doing their job, and you've issued reports about that. How are these threats part of the larger racial-based suppression tactics, and is this a reason why your organization has come under attack by this administration and by this committee?
Gentleman's time has expired, but you may answer.
Congressman Johnson, yes,
that entire
we
thing
believe
needs to be
that
clipped.
there is a direct
Clip
threat
it.
to free and fair elections. And we believe that we are a target of this administration because of the effective work we've done for 55 years.
Thank you, sir. I stand with you on your work.
Gentleman's time has expired. Recognize the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Klein.
That was brilliant.
Mr. Fair,
That was
as the only Virginia.
That was a really incredible synopsis. I love him so much. Mr. Johnson from Georgia. He is so wonderful. I do not want him to retire. I just don't. Okay, I'm speeding through the Republicans because it's all the same old bullshit and I don't want to hear it. I just don't think we have time for that.
The vital work of the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Without objection. Gentlelady, and the committee wishes to express our condolences. I know you had a tough situation with your family. I'm sorry to hear about that, but welcome you back, and you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Oh,
Really
what
appreciate
happened?
that. Well, here we are again for a third hearing in 6 months about the Southern Poverty Law Center. And I wanted to point out that voter confidence in the economy has plummeted to a 4-year low.
Ouch.
76% of Americans think that the economy is getting worse.
It is.
The average price for a gallon of gas has almost doubled since Trump began his unconstitutional war of
It
choice
has.
against Iran. And the top concerns of Americans across political party are gas prices, the cost of groceries, and rising healthcare costs. So perhaps it's a surprise to my Republican colleagues that the Southern Poverty Law Center is nowhere on the top list of concerns of Americans across this country. And the fact is that the factual falsehoods and ideological grievances that Republicans keep pushing in these endless hearings is all about fulfilling Donald Trump's mission of punishing perceived political enemies. So I want to be very clear, this hearing is allegedly about SPLC, quote, spreading hate, which is even more ironic given that it's Donald Trump himself who has used extreme rhetoric and gone out of his way to stoke racism, fear, and xenophobia. He has denounced Mexican immigrants as rapists. He's railed against immigration from, quote, shithole countries, his words, not mine. He has enacted travel bans against dozens of countries, which a federal court just ruled unlawfully targeted people from 39 African, Asian, Latin American, and Middle Eastern countries. And he and Republicans have tried to end birthright citizenship and have given hundreds of billions of dollars to rogue ICE and CBP agents to kidnap and disappear immigrants of all immigration statuses, including, by the way, United States citizens.
That's right.
But it isn't just the denigrating of Black and brown communities that's so dangerous. It is the praising, the pardoning, the condoning of extreme white nationalists directly from the White House.
Freedom Caucus.
In Trump's America,
hate that
white
guy's enemies
supremacists
first.
at the
Oh, yeah,
Charlottesville
true.
rally are, quote, very fine people. even after images and videos show
Messy.
participants making
It's
nods and
messy.
salutes and cheering on the former Grand Wizard of the KKK. Trump then urged the
isn't that guy
same
dead
network
yet?
of extremists
Why isn't
to
David
storm
Duke
the
yet?
Capitol.
He was old when
and
I was
is
young.
still trying to implement his
He must be
$1.8
like Dorian
billion
Gray.
slush fund of U.S. taxpayer dollars to pardon convicted insurrectionists, at least 89 of whom have gone on to commit all kinds of serious crimes,
Rollback
from
of
child
civil
sexual
civil
abuse
rights
to
is not
reckless
because
homicide.
T wants it.
And he's done so over and over again,
Not
and yet
not
he's
just him.
weaponizing
I think a
the
lot of
Department of
them.
Justice to go after the Southern Poverty Law Center because they
Control of the
have
river,
dared
yeah.
to call out that hate and extremism, including from people within the White House, like Stephen Miller and others within the administration. My Republican colleagues want you to think that SPLC is targeting mainstream conservative individuals and groups. But I want to dive in a little bit to set the record straight about exactly who we are talking about here. Many of these individuals and groups espouse something called the Great Replacement Theory, which argues that elites are trying to actively replace white Americans and Europeans with non-white immigrants. So, Professor McCord, is the Great Replacement Theory an extreme and hateful fringe theory?
It is a fringe extreme theory, Congressmember. It is not something that is adhered to by the majority of the American public or even a large percentage.
And it's true, is it not, that the Great Replacement Theory has stimulated violent reactionary responses in multiple cases, including mass murders, mass shootings?
There have been numerous mass shootings, including in Buffalo, New York, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, El Paso, Texas, and many others, where the writings and work of the people who have committed those heinous crimes reflected that they adhered to the Great Replacement Theory as an ideology.
Now, one of the groups that espouses these views is the Center for Immigration Studies, or CIS, and it's an anti-immigrant think tank that SPLC has designated as a hate group. These are some of the statements behind me that CIS's leaders and writers have said, including advocating for the need to maintain a European-American majority, claiming that blacks and Hispanics have lower IQ than white people. And I guess I want to ask you, Mr. Fair, why was it important for Southern Poverty Law Center to designate CIS as a hate group?
It was important, Congressman Jayapal, because it is one of these go-to think tank organizations
Well,
that
in
many
essence,
people
then they would
rely
have
on.
replaced themselves.
And our goal is to expose the statements of these groups and to let the people decide. We don't stop speech. We
That's
don't
right.
stop anyone's speech. There's plenty of speech in the public square
That's
from
fine.
these groups. We expose their statements in the words of what they say
That's
and their
right.
activities, and let
It's
the
a
people
mirror,
decide what they think about
folks.
it.
So that they don't lead to violent actions
Time of the
that follow that. I
Time of the
thank you, Mr.
gentlelady
Chairman.
has expired. The gentleman from Arizona is recognized for unanimous consent.
No.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This is from SPLC's Learning for Justice curriculum.
Oh, no, we're not. I'm not listening to that idiot. This one, this idiot, not listening to him.
You guys are going to be in trouble, and you're going to have a real problem on your
The indictments lend support to. And the next one is from Salon, and it says SPLC indictments lend support to hate groups for decades. The Southern Poverty Law Center has fought hate. Now the Justice Department
Yeah.
wants to stop it.
How about we
Solid
start
objection.
there?
Chair now
Mr.
recognizes-
Chairman, I have a unanimous consent as well.
Gentleman from Texas recognized.
My colleague, Ms. Jasmine Crockett, said she was unaware that children's genitalia was being cut off.
Wait,
I'd
what?
like to submit this article that says Trump administration lauds plastic surgeon's statement on trans surgery for minors. I'll send you a copy, Ms.
What?
Crockett,
I-
so you can learn more about this
Mr.
heinous
Chairman, just
practice.
for purposes of the record, I
Without
want to,
objection.
I
Would
know
y'all just
that,
pass this
Objection
down
to-
for me?
I know that that side doesn't have too many women, so we may all look alike, but
it
that
was
was
me.
actually my colleague.
I take full credit.
Oh, my God.
I apologize. I just
Oh, my
assumed it was you,
God.
Ms. Crockett. Please forgive me.
Mr. The gentleman from New Jersey.
Oh.
unanimous consent from YouTube.
Oh, how embarrassing. How embarrassing. I don't know. Bigot Monthly? I'm not sure.
DOJ indictment alleges
That you
All right, here we go. I love Joe. Joe's one of the best. Joe's one of the best. Oh, God, I hate that other little guy, though. I don't want the little guy.
You work for Alliance Defending Freedom,
There we go.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I reviewed your written testimony. Safe to say you disagree with the Southern Poverty Law Center's designation of your group, right?
We do.
Okay. And based on your written testimony and based off some of what I found on your website, some deep resentment about that designation, fair to say.
Yeah, Ms.
Sir,
Crockett.
we don't resent them, we disagree with them.
Disagree with them. Okay,
really?
well,
Because it sounds
as
kind
I
of
look at your
butthurt.
testimony and as I review your website, it is
Always.
pretty clear that you
Cousin
view
Crockett
Southern Poverty
always
Law
has the
Center
win.
as an adversary.
That was good.
Is that a fair characterization?
We have disagreements with them on a number of issues, including policy and otherwise.
That's how you would describe them? Disagreements? I mean, the words that you use to describe the Southern Poverty Law Center do not strike me as a simple matter of disagreement. It seems pretty clear to me, based on your website, based on your testimony, I don't know why you'd be walking away from that now, that you vehemently disagree with the Southern Poverty Law Center, that you are pleased that they have been indicted. You have called, I mean, this is from your recommendations for congressional action. Direct banking regulators to investigate ECOA and Regulation B compliance at institutions using SPLC-linked vetting tools, right? So you are calling for investigations into the Southern Poverty Law Center.
And
That
their
doesn't sound like
partners.
something that you would do with someone you disagree with. This is, am I wrong?
Well, Congressman, anytime that a designation by a nonprofit that's politically unaccountable is being used by federally regulated banks to discriminate based on religious
That's the
belief.
bank's decision. That's the bank's decision, honey. Honey. That's the bank making that decision. And trust me, they don't make those decisions very lightly because, frankly, they love money more than morals. Okay? Let's be honest. They're not stupid. I've seen this. I've seen this happen. So I'm going to tell you right now, it's definitely still an emotional struggle for them to debank you. Believe me, nobody at the bank seems to enjoy that very much. Okay, and more because they agree with you deep down inside. In some cases, at least. Anyway, all right, I'll BRB. Here we go.
Something that the government should be aware of and should look into.
So I'm simply saying that I didn't expect to have this much of an extended back and forth on the premise of the question. I think that your bosses at Alliance Defending Freedom, if they were testifying here, would say, we vehemently disagree with Southern Poverty Law Center. They're an adversary. They are an enemy. We are glad that they have been indicted, and we are calling for more investigations of them, which you did in the written testimony that you provided to this committee. Do you think it would be inappropriate to harness a criminal prosecution of an entity to pursue the enemies of your organization? Would that be an inappropriate thing to do?
Well, Congressman.
No, that's a yes or no question. You can ask, if you don't think it's inappropriate, you can say no.
If there's true criminal activity, then of course the government has the right to investigate.
Sure, but if there's no criminal activity, it would be wrong to do that, right?
Well, it depends upon what the facts ultimately show.
Mr. Banger, this is why I asked the question. You are a former Attorney General. I think you know why I'm asking you the question. You're a former Deputy Attorney General within the Texas Office of Attorney General. You went to the FBI and gave a whistleblower complaint about Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas. You did so because you believed that there was criminal wrongdoing. Let me read this quote. In my view, the criminal process had been harnessed to pursue the business enemies of an individual who also happened to be under intensive investigation by law enforcement. That's your quote from an article a few years ago after you went to the FBI about Mr. Paxton. It is very clear that Alliance Defending Freedom and a wide variety of other organizations that have been designated by the Southern Poverty Law Center resent it, vehemently disagree with it, have been demanding a criminal investigation and indictment of SPLC, and they have now gotten their wishes from the president's personal lawyer, who, of course, as we know, now serves as the interim Attorney General of the United States. And I just think it's important for us to be candid about that.
Oopsie.
I don't know if the chairman agrees with you going to the FBI about Ken Paxton. I'm not sure if Mr. Gill or Mr.
They went to the
Roy or some of
FBI
my
over
colleagues
Ken
here,
Paxton?
maybe they'll ask you a question or two about the Republican Attorney General of Texas and why it was appropriate for you to go to the FBI with allegations of wrongdoing. I'm certainly glad that you did that. I would tell you that like you,
Wow.
the SPLC, as I understand it, has gone to the FBI on many occasions to provide the FBI with information about suspected criminal activity. And in fact,
Oh my God.
that criminal activity, the reported criminal activity, has ultimately been prosecuted. By the way, not by President Biden's Justice Department, but by Donald Trump's Justice Department. And the best example of this, which was brought up earlier, was the potential mass terror attack at a synagogue in Las Vegas. Mr. Fair, I think you've already attested to this, but just to be clear, your organization gave information from a paid informant to the FBI when Donald Trump was president. And Donald Trump's FBI used that information to prosecute someone to prevent them from engaging in this mass terror attack. Is that true?
That is correct.
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Fair. Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Well
Time
done,
to yield
Mr.
back to the
Naguse.
Back time, the gentleman's fired. The chair recognizes
Love
the gentleman
him.
from Texas, Mr. Gooden.
Mr.
I
Fair,
don't
during the
wanna
Biden-Harris
listen.
administration, the SPLC
I
included
don't
many
want to
mainstream
listen to
conservative
that
groups
dope
in their
who
hate
doesn't
map,
even know which
including
woman
Alliance
he's
Defending
talking
Freedom, Charlie Kirk's
about.
Turning Point USA, and Family
Why?
Research Council.
Why?
To your knowledge,
What'd you
We
do?
stopped the program.
Paired the Richmond domain.
Okay, sorry.
Even though they apologized for it.
Well, but I've got the report right here from the Inspector General.
Well, we have the apology from Director Ray, so you typically don't apologize for something if you didn't do anything wrong.
Let's submit it to the record and let everybody read both of them.
Yeah, okay. We'll have to submit Director Ray's statement as well. Chair now recognizes the gentlelady from North Carolina.
Thank you so much, Mr.
baby.
Chairman. It is
Why
beyond
does he protect people who
ridiculous
sexually
that we are having
abuse
yet a
youth,
second
young
hearing
people?
on this topic.
Why?
Something that is in active litigation.
Why aren't
and that
any
the
maggots
courts
asking
should
about
sort
that?
out. It's especially
I like this woman.
ridiculous because we've had no oversight hearings of what the DOJ is doing under Mr. Blanche when he is about to be in front of the Senate for confirmation for Attorney General. And he has had
boy, that's gonna be
so
interesting.
many incidents that are worthy of investigation, including his handling of the Epstein files and Ghislaine Maxwell's transfer to Club Fed. But that's not why we're here today. My colleagues on the other side have continued to cite the indictment as if it is some kind of proof, it's just an indictment, that SPLC has engaged in wrongdoing. This indictment essentially states that making payments to a confidential informant to infiltrate violent extremist organizations is the exact same thing as supporting those organizations. That also is ridiculous. The FBI pays informants all the time. Are they supporting the groups
Police
that they're trying to
department,
undermine? This is a
everybody.
bizarre Alice in Wonderland theory. And if allowed to stand, it would call into question decades of intelligence and law
Hey,
enforcement
listen,
practices
if you want to
used
reform
to
justice
prevent
system,
violence
have
and
at it.
dismantle criminal networks. Mr. Fair,
It's okay when banks
how does the
fund money
intelligence
laundering and sex
extremist
trafficking,
monitoring
Deutsche Bank.
program within
JP Morgan.
SPLC support your work to combat violent hate groups in America?
Thank you, Congresswoman Ross. Our confidential informant program helped save lives. We shared information with law enforcement. It helped protect the public. It helped protect our staff. We were able to gather intelligence and dismantle some of these groups.
Thank you. It is astounding that our own Department of Justice, which benefited from this intelligence gathering, seems not to understand how this process works.
They're corrupt.
But that's the current Department of Justice. Ms. McCord, you were a federal prosecutor for 2 decades and led the National Security Division of the DOJ,
Mary
which
McCord should have been Attorney
prosecutes
General.
crimes like domestic
Why
terrorism.
couldn't she be Attorney General?
Did your
Is there a
work
reason?
ever involve or rely on paid confidential informants?
Yes, it is a practice, an investigative tactic strategy that is used by law enforcement, paid informants, cooperators, not only to investigate potential crimes of terrorism, but also drug trafficking rings, human trafficking rings, child pedophilia.
And can you give
You know,
us
like
an
a-
example
Republicans are always caught
of
with.
when information from an informant was
Like the
used to
president,
build
credibly
a federal
alleged to have
case
raped
against a
multiple
criminal
children.
network?
There are many
your
examples,
guy.
Congressmember Ross, and certainly oftentimes this results in allegations in indictments, including the information provided by paid informants, and oftentimes testimony at trial that also comes directly from informants.
Great. Thank you, Ms. McCord. This is essential work. And of course, we know that SPLC donors have absolutely no problem with this practice. As one of them stated in the wake of this indictment, we knew they were paying informants. The indictment is a laughing stock.
It is.
It is on specious legal grounds. Veteran prosecutors have called this indictment frail and deficient.
I think that's one thing that people need to know more. Like there needs to be a summary, and I know there are for different topics, but there needs to be an overall summary of the losses suffered by this Department of Justice in court, right? Just the sheer number of losses, and compare that with other administrations and really see what happens. Now, the SCOTUS is an aberration because at least 3 of them are hard bought, maybe 5. Maybe 6. I don't know. But at the same time, if you look at the federal court, the larger court system, and the number of losses that this administration has suffered, this Department of Justice versus past, I'm just curious to see how much they've lost in court, because time after time we read article after article that is tracking the number of losses and wins in courts of different stripes, you know, in the immigration front, on the citizenship battles, on the access to mifepristone, you know, like access to healthcare, et cetera, et cetera. But they're losing time after time after time. And I feel like that is definitely a sign that there is, this is flawed legal representation on the part of the Department of Justice. And what a waste of taxpayer money to bring specious, as she says, cases against, you know, organizations and individuals and all that and stuff. Think of all this stuff. We need to look for that. We need to look for the total losses in court by this administration and compare that to past, because I have a feeling the number is going to be shocking. I could be wrong, but I think it is. Laundry's folded, a fresh batch of clean underwear. What a feeling. Feel believing. I can wear fresh panties and I can move the I don't know. Move the world. What a feeling. Sorry, I'm not a high singer.
And
I'm a high
particularly
singer, but I'm not a high singer.
one federal civil rights prosecutor, an FBI agent, even stated, and I quote, "I don't think any prosecutor with white-collar experience would look at this indictment and believe it makes out the elements of a crime. It is not a valid indictment." We know why this indictment was brought. It's just one of the many
Because his
weaponized
friends
moves
are under
that
attack
Todd
by the
Blanche
FPLC,
and
girl.
the DOJ has taken at the president's
Donors getting their
behest
money's worth,
to silence
girl.
dissent for his month-long audition for Attorney General. And he's going to get his time in front of the cameras. This is proving
Turd's
loyalty
not going to do
to
very
Donald
well,
Trump.
though. He won't.
But it's
He's gonna
clearly
choke.
not loyalty to the law. I yield back.
Yields back, gentleman from
He's
Arizona.
gonna
Thank you,
choke.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everyone, for
Choke,
being here
choke,
today.
choke.
Mr. Fair, are you familiar with J&J Electronics?
Oh my God. You're going to ask? He already asked about that.
Are you familiar with Kelly's Marine?
Oh my God. Dude, were you in the room?
Congressman Biggs.
Were you in the room?
I'm sorry, Congressman Biggs.
Were you not
I'm
in the
not sure
room?
that I'm familiar with them. If they are,
Are you familiar with Turner Personnel?
I'm not doing this.
if
From Vermont is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank the witnesses for being here. We are now enduring yet another hearing of this committee regarding Republicans' absurd allegations against the
underwear.
Southern Poverty Law Center. And we already
I
know
love clean underwear.
about the battle
Awesome.
between hateful extremist groups and the civil rights
I
litigators
gotta do
at
some laundry.
SPLC. And we know that President Trump, Acting Attorney General Blanche, and many other members
Maybe
of
I'll
this
stream from
administration
the
have sided
laundromat.
with extremists over and over again.
Done.
This third hearing is clearly part of a broader effort built on a pathetic, blind loyalty to one man, Donald Trump. President Trump prizes
Donald
loyalty over principles, loyalty over
Yeah,
values,
here we go.
loyalty over competence.
Max has the question. Mr. Biggs, why did you ask for a pardon after January 6th? What did you need forgiveness for, I wonder? Actually, we know, you little bad boy.
And that is why he wants to elevate his personal lawyer to serve as our Attorney
I
General.
like this lady.
Acting Attorney
Spicy.
General Blanche has quickly earned President Trump's trust by using the Justice Department to attack people in groups like SPLC that have stood up to this administration and its lawlessness. Mr. Blanche has overseen the creation of perhaps the most corrupt scheme in our nation's history, the DOJ weaponization slush fund. Blanche signed off on an unconstitutional
I
agreement to
think we
give
need to move
taxpayers
on from that. I think it's
money
time. That horse is dead.
criminals and
Come back to it if
insurrectionists,
you need
people
to,
who beat
but
cops
you don't
in
need
this
to.
building. But that's not all. Acting Attorney General has also initiated a criminal fraud investigation of E. Jean Carroll, the woman who successfully sued Donald Trump for sexual assault. He has indicted former FBI Director James Comey for an Instagram post with seashells, ladies and gentlemen, seashells. He has installed a Trump loyalist to replace a career prosecutor who would not indict former CIA Director John Brennan on ridiculous charges. That's what we're doing here. Mr. Blanche is clear about his role. He knows he is auditioning to be the president's lawyer, his personal lawyer, the job that he's had before. He has said in his own words that the president has a, quote, right and duty to use the Justice Department to investigate his political enemies. That absurd idea, of course, conflicts with the entire concept of an independent DOJ. Professor McCord, is the role of Attorney General different from being the president's personal attorney?
Yes, it is, Congressmember. The role of the Attorney General is to take an oath to the Constitution, as every single prosecutor in the Department of Justice does. It is not an oath to a person, and certainly not an oath to the president.
That's absolutely right. And why should the Justice Department be independent from the office of the president, regardless of which party is in power?
Since Watergate, it has been important to attorneys general of both parties that the American public not believe that the Department of Justice will be used for political purposes. And so the policies have been for more than 50 years until now that it will not be directed by the White House when it comes to prosecutions and investigations.
And what are those
What about
dangers?
me?
You
I'm
know, the
smart.
dangers of a system where politically driven prosecutions become the norm.
I love Fredo.
Well, certainly one of those dangers is the infringement on First Amendment rights, among many other dangers. There's the legitimacy of the Department of Justice. There's the integrity of the prosecutors when they go into court. But on the First Amendment, when we see targeting of organizations and individuals based upon their speech, and that includes a number of the individuals you mentioned in your opening
about who
remarks,
should worry about that.
infringes on constitutional rights.
This guy.
I agree with you. And now we're in a situation right now that I never imagined we would find ourselves in, that we have a president who has installed a lackey to lead the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
And now he wants to make him permanent.
Yeah.
And
Are
I
you
need
shocked?
much more than 5 minutes to touch on all the ways
you
in which
shocked?
Mr. Blanche's conduct is disqualifying. In this case alone that we're here once again discussing, in this case alone, he has misled Americans by stating on television that he did not know that SPLC was giving informant information to law enforcement. And of course, as my colleague from North Carolina has said, Mr. Blanche is a central figure in the Epstein files cover-up. He was the person who met with Ghislaine Maxwell before she was transferred to a club-fed facility. The accusations against SPLC are ridiculous. Legal experts are clear that the indictment being offered by Mr. Blanche is invalid. But like all things with this president, it is both ridiculous and completely serious. We have to make clear that his nomination is nothing more than a stamp of approval for scandal after corrupt scandal. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentlelady from Florida, Ms. Lee, is recognized.
Thank you. I yield my time to the chairman.
Oh, thank you. Thank you,
weird.
Representative. Mr. Bangert.
Some of the very organizations it claims to want to defend.
Children,
I like this lady.
they are taught hate.
In fact, it was colluding to fund and support and conspire with some of the very organizations it claims to want to defeat. It is discouraging, and it is so critical that we have brought transparency to this issue here today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Gentlelady from California.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on May
That's too
18th
much.
of this year,
I
two
overdid it.
teenage gunmen opened fire on a mosque in San Diego, California, and they murdered 3 people. Then they turned their weapons on themselves before law enforcement could apprehend them. These assailants, they were teenagers. They were children. And children are not born with hate. They are taught hate. President Fair, is that a fair assessment?
Sorry, Congresswoman, it's our position that hate is never peaceful for its victims,
Right.
ever.
And you know, these assailants, they learned this hate somewhere, and they shared it actually in their very long, detailed, hate-filled manifesto, referencing a number of extremist organizations by name, like the Terrorgram Collective, the Base, and the Adam Waffen Division. So President Fair, are you familiar with some of these groups?
Yes, the Adam Waffen Division is one of the groups that we shared intelligence on and was behind the threatened massacre in Las Vegas.
That's right. It's a neo-Nazi extremist group, and in 2019, SPLC actually gave information. It was good enough for law enforcement that they were able to thwart a terrorist attack that was planned by one of the members of this Adam Waffen division. And in fact, he said he was planning a terrorist attack, and he had explosives, and he was targeting a synagogue and a bar that was patronized by the LGBT community. So by the way, for everybody, happy Pride Month. And Ms. King, I say that in honor of your uncle's dear friend, Bayard Rustin. So we are talking about accelerationist, neo-Nazi networks and 2 teenagers in San Diego who were inspired by them. And this is a hate-filled pipeline getting to our children. It's a pathway by which teenage boys and young men are drawn from mainstream platforms into these increasingly radicalized spaces where they are encountering content that glorifies hate, violence, and criminal activity. And to be fair, what happened at that mosque was a criminal act. I think it's curious that Republicans haven't had any of these groups come before this committee and prove that they are not spreading hate. Where are those hearings? But maybe my Republican colleagues are okay with having neo-Nazi extremist groups teaching your children or their children, but I'm not. We've also heard today that those with traditional Christian beliefs are being treated as threats and terrorists. We've heard a lot today about how the SPLC is anti-Christian. We're being told that the organization worked with the Biden administration to target traditional Catholics for their political and religious beliefs, and that the org discriminates against anyone with traditional or Christian views. I think those are lies. So speaking of lies, for the record, President Fair, do you maintain a domestic terrorist list?
We do not.
Okay. So Dr. King, for example, is not on this non-existent list. Is that true?
Oh, that is true. I'm not sure what list she's referring to.
Okay. Is she on a hate map?
No.
Okay. So per usual, the facts are being twisted to attack the SPLC and the work it does across this country to tackle hate groups and violent extremists, because SPLC actually dares
to dissent against this administration, and therefore you all have a target on your back. But don't take my word for it. I have a video.
Uh-oh.
Been hearing that there are people who think the SPLC is anti-Christian, and I really don't know what Bible they're reading, because my experience of the SPLC is that they help churches feed hungry families, they help struggling communities.
They informed me personally about the need in our state, about a decrease of SNAP benefits, about hospital shortages.
And the work that we do in our community, and without SPLC and the knowledge that they bring, it would limit us to be able to serve and understand what our community needs are.
And certainly the values of SPLC in these more than 4 or 5 decades exemplify the values of the gospel: inclusion, solidarity, concern for the least among us, and a zeal for justice.
So I fully support and want the SPLC to be known for who they are and in real time, in real life, because of what they do for others.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Gentleman from Alabama is recognized.
Oopsie. There goes your argument.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you to the witnesses for being here today. Ms. King, great to see you again. I think you've done more to unite. I know in my region.
Gentleman yields back. The
sorry.
chair now recognizes the
Sorry. Can't
lady
hold,
from,
can't hold back
from
progress.
Illinois. Gentleman from Illinois.
I want to find that picture,
Thank
Teresa. I don't
you,
know what picture you're
Mr.
talking about.
Chairman. It's astonishing to see
I like Mr. Garcia.
Republicans choose to humiliate themselves for a third time with this hearing, which is more of an indictment of them than anyone else. Everyone knows that the SPLC indictment is a joke, a bad one at that. Everyone knows that the legal arguments are nonsense, and everyone knows that Todd Blanche's corrupt henchman ordered the U.S. attorney to do this pathetic hack job, even though it'll never hold up in court. So why are Republicans putting us through this absurd gaslighting Olympics for a third time? Because their assault on the SPLC is a crucial part of the assault on democracy itself. The Republican Party used to be the party of Lincoln from Illinois. That's where I'm from. Today, it's nothing more than a debt cult and a political front for the white supremacist movement, tragically. That's as old as our country itself. As my Democratic colleagues have pointed out, there's a reason why Republicans are targeting the SPLC. No organization has been more effective in dismantling the Klan and other white nationalist groups, including through the use of informants. This is a nonprofit organization. It has a board of directors. They govern organizations in place you don't know.
They
So
file
the Republican Party
public
protects these
documents.
groups because they have the same goals: erase Reconstruction, erase the civil rights movement, destroy multiracial democracy, and restore Jim Crow in America. That's what this is all about.
Certified badass.
And it's right in front of us. They tried to violently overthrow an election, then got pardons from their ringleader,
Yeah.
President Trump. They tried to embezzle billions of tax dollars to create a white nationalist slush fund at DOJ. But it ran into problems, didn't it? They divert law enforcement resources from combating white nationalism to low-level immigration enforcement. They accuse the SPLC of being
Project
anti-Christian,
2025, yeah.
opposing anti-abortion, anti-LGBT bigotry, even though Christian leaders, as we saw in the prior video, nationwide support the SPLC overwhelmingly. Their morality bankrupt, they're morally bankrupt co-conspirators on the Supreme Court and in state legislatures are dismantling Reconstruction amendments and rigging elections to strip Black and brown people of political representation. Let's be clear. The president and his enablers are carrying out the vision of the Klan, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and every other hate group, because they exist and they act. They are courageous patriots, and they have fought for decades. It's the same old playbook on DEI, on mass incarceration, on the Voting Rights Act, on immigration enforcement, the racial profiling, the mass detentions, the stripping of due process, the undermining of birthright citizenship, everything that's happening in communities like mine, it's all the same playbook. And it's rooted in the same conspiracy theory, the Great Replacement Theory. Mr. Fair, thank you for being here today and for all that SPLC does.
Two
Would you agree
really
that this
amazing
administration's
speeches in
anti-immigrant
particular.
agenda is part of the broader support of white nationalist movement? And how does the Great Replacement Theory underpin that movement?
Yes, Congressman Garcia. The Great Replacement Theory suggests that whites in this country are being replaced by immigrants. And many of the groups that we identify as hate groups target immigrants, label them as criminals, as rapists, in the words of this administration and otherwise.
Yeah.
There are any number of groups that express white supremacist views that this country should be a majority white nation. Those views are antithetical to the views of the SPLC.
Thank you for sharing that. I yield back, Mr.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman
Those are really, there's some great
consent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I
overviews in this.
forgot, I have some UCs.
Okay, gentleman, our gentlelady can proceed.
San Diego mosque shooters left document revealing racist neo-Nazi beliefs.
Objection.
Vance praises YouTuber Nick Shirley reporting on Minnesota fraud.
Without objection.
Undocumented immigrant offending rate lower than U.S.-born citizen rate.
Without objection.
Yeah, okay. Anti-Muslim bigotry surges ahead of International Day
Without
to combat Islamophobia. The annual report 2025, the Council on, American Islamic Relations 2025 annual report.
Without objection.
Anti-Islamic rhetoric from GOP politicians sparks concern over religious hatred.
Without objection.
The SPLC's Year in Hate and Extremism 2024.
Without objection.
And once again, the SPLC's hate map to establish clearly for the record who is and who is not on it.
Without objection. I want to thank you all for your patience. We have about a half an hour. based on the
Nope,
number of,
not Harriet.
members
I'm
here.
not doing that.
With the attempted kidnapping of Gretchen Whitmer, the anti-Semitic firebombing of Josh Shapiro's home, and the recent attempted assassination of Donald Trump, there's no doubt that extremism is on the rise. Just a simple answer. Does everyone agree that this is a serious concern for our democracy? Ms. McCord?
Yes.
Mr. Banjert?
Yes, political violence is always a serious concern.
Dr. King?
I'm sure.
Yes or no? Just yes or no?
All political violence is of great concern.
Mr. Fair?
Yes, Congresswoman Macbeth.
Thank you. Last year, someone tried to firebomb a Republican Party headquarters in Arizona, and someone else fired gunshots at a Democratic Party office building in New Mexico. There have been politically and racially motivated mass shootings in Charleston, El Paso, and beyond. Yes or no for each of you, do you think it should be a priority of the Department of Justice and the FBI to combat extremism and political violence?
Yes, regardless of the ideology.
Thank you.
Yes, Congressman, I believe the department should be pursuing criminal acts of political violence.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Congresswoman.
Thank you. Our priority should be eliminating and deterring violence, a view that is not shared by the Trump administration. Last March, the Department of Homeland Security defunded the database at the University of Maryland that tracked domestic terrorism, hate crimes, and targeted violence. The only publicly
They moved it
available
over to the
database
Department of
its kind
Agriculture.
in this country. Shut
What are you
down at the
talking
very
about?
moment that its
We
data
didn't shut it
showed a
down. We moved it to a
25%
new department.
increase in terrorism
Nobody can
and
find it.
targeted violence over the prior
But we
year.
moved it.
By summer 2025, the administration went on to dismantle DHS's Center for Prevention Programs and Partnerships,
Okay.
the primary federal
Prevention.
unit for proactively stopping extremist violence, credited with disrupting over 1,000
Prevention?
violent plots. Last fall, the Justice Department quietly removed from its website a study showing far-right extremists were responsible for the bulk of ideologically motivated
Hello?
deaths, a fact
Sorry.
that has been shown numerous times
called data.
in multiple studies.
No.
Professor McCord, why is the Trump
That's the
administration
way it
shutting
is.
down these tools and burying studies on violence at a moment when extremism is on the rise?
Well, I can't get into the heads of every person in this administration, but it is certainly consistent with their mass
I wouldn't want to.
deportation plans and the vilifying of people of color and immigrants into the United States.
Thank you. Americans expect their government to keep them safe. Yet the administration seems determined to do so only when it fits their ideological narrative. There's no better example than the reckless pardon of the January 6th rioters, nearly 100 of whom have reoffended since the attack. One was arrested after threatening a person with a gun in a church parking lot. Another plotted to assassinate FBI agents, and yet another one in a plot to assassinate an elected official. Dr. King, in a letter from a Birmingham jail, your uncle writes to fellow clergymen about the dangers of turning a blind eye to those who do wrong to your neighbors. How do you reconcile that with the presidential pardons of 1,200 violent extremists?
May I answer in this manner? Manufactured hate, socially engineered racism, because we are one blood and we are one human race. All of this is generating unwarranted fear and chaos. George Wallace, who was mentioned earlier, was one of the most racist people on the planet, and he repented, he admitted that he had been racist, he regretted it, and much healing came forth.
And I understand
Planned
that, Dr.
Parenthood
King,
admitted
but I'm
that it
asking
is
you a
racist
question
as
is
well.
how do you reconcile with
It is time for
1,200 pardons that have
SPLC
been made
to
by the
admit,
president?
Time belongs, Dr. King,
to
time belongs to the lady.
admit, I'm answering you. And so in a letter from the Birmingham jail, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Okay, thank
Everything
you
you
for
just
that.
mentioned was terrible, but
Thank
what
you
about
for
the
that.
guard that was shot
I'm moving on.
right out at
Professor
the
McCord.
Family Research Council? I'm
Thank you
trying to
very much.
answer.
Dr.
Thank you.
King.
Thank
You
you.
know, injustice, violence is
reclaiming my
wrong.
time.
Time
I
belongs to
reclaim
the-
my time. I'm reclaiming my time.
Time belongs to the gentleman.
Violence, all violence is wrong.
Mr. Chairman, could you
McCord.
restore her time just
Yes,
25 seconds?
we've been very generous with the time. We'll give her a few seconds more.
Okay. Professor McCord, does issuing blanket pardons to violent extremists who assaulted police officers help address this problem of rising extremism in America?
No, it condones extremism by one side of the ideological spectrum.
Okay, thank you. We still need organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center. Just ask the committees in San Diego, Buffalo, and Jacksonville. You can ask me, a mother who lost her son to gun violence because a man made assumptions about him based on the color of his skin. Hate-driven violence and policy still exists, and we should dare to be bold, as Dr. King was, to fight against it. And I yield.
I'm the gentlelady's. As far as
Mr. Chairman, could I do a
gentlelady's
UC?
back. We'll go to Ms. Hageman, then I'll come to you.
I have a UC request. An article from LifeSet, the both sides' political violence narrative completely debunked. They cooked the books as typical. Another one, a letter from Andrew Clovet to Chairman Jordan.
I'm so sorry. I didn't get
Middle District.
rid of her fast enough.
Unanimous consent request. It's just an article with respect to
Sorry, you have
Moms
to
for
listen to
Liberty
him.
and focusing specifically
Lick
on
My
critical
Ass.
race theory and DEI.
You understand? That's what we call them here at the lounge. Moms for Lick My Ass. I even have them wearing their own shirt that says that. I'll pull that up. That's a good one. That's a good
not
one.
specifically talking
From their
about
catalog. I
race
didn't
and
make
their
it. I mean,
position on that. I'd like to insert that on the
sorta.
record.
Objection. Gentlelady from Texas recognized.
You know what? I hate that we have spent this much time, on SPLC and we've not addressed the elephant in the room, the literal elephant in the room. The vast majority of the people on that side of the aisle, and for those of you that are at home, let me tell you, when I say that side of the aisle, I'm talking about the Republicans, the ones that brought this hearing. And again, you've heard that this is not the first hearing, but the vast majority of them are white men. White men are lecturing people of color because the vast majority, actually, any semblance of diversity comes from this side of the aisle. You want to tell people of color Who is fighting for who? People of color do not feel comfortable or welcomed within your party. That's why you have to parade someone who has the name Dr. King attached to them so that people can be confused, because I have been reading the comments online and people are like, who is this Dr. King? Because you want them to believe that somehow she espouses who Dr. King was, yet you've yet to have MLK the third come in here. You've yet to have Dr. Bernice King, the ones that were actually raised by Dr. King, the ones that actually probably understand the teachings of Dr. King. And I just want to be clear, because I want to talk to y'all about what the Dr. King had to say about racism, so that y'all don't get it twisted and don't get it confused just because you see the name sitting in this room. Our nation was born in genocide when it embraced the doctrine that the original American, the Indian, was an inferior race. That was from his 1963 book, Why We Can't Wait. He also said, in the final analysis, racism is evil because its ultimate logic is genocide. If one says that I am not good enough to live next door to him, or to have a good, decent job, or to go to school with him merely because of my race, he is saying consciously or unconsciously that I do not deserve to exist. This was from his 1967 speech, The Other America. So just to be clear, y'all don't seem like y'all even understand what a hate organization is. So I went to Google to help you out. A hate group is an organized group whose beliefs, practices, and primary purpose are centered on advocating malice, hostility, or violence towards people based on their immutable race, religion, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or disability. So I know some of y'all are, caping for Charlie Kirk, because I done heard y'all talk about his organization over and over and over. So I'm not finna play with anybody who's gonna play with my time, so I'm going directly to Miss McCord. Professor, let me put some respect on your name. All right, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Does that sound like a hater or not?
That sounds like a racial stereotype.
Okay, sounds good to me. We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the mid-1960s.
That sounds like someone who still adheres to racist views.
Okay. America has freedom of religion, of course, but we should be frank. Large, dedicated Islamic areas are a threat to America.
That is someone who can't accept that America is a multiracial, multi-religious place.
Okay, these all just happen to be comments from the fearless leader of Turning Point USA, so I could see where SPLC was going. I also think that it's so interesting that right now, just for those sitting at home, you may not know that Oversight is not having any hearings right now because the Republicans don't want to deal with the Epstein file, so they have shut down all of Oversight committee hearings, right? So we've got an indictment for SPLC. I have still yet to see an indictment on any Epstein defendant. Not a one, but okay. And we want to talk about what happened in Charlottesville, and we are so upset about Charlottesville. All of a sudden, I would be interested to know which one of you had something to say about Charlottesville when it happened, because I don't think that y'all were saying those same things. In fact, our fearless leader at the time said that there were pretty fine people on both sides. You were okay with the tiki torches. You were okay with it. But I digress. I'm going to move on to Texas in my last 24 seconds. In your testimony before the Texas House of Representatives, you read aloud a series of messages between you and other whistleblowers, basically explaining the corruption happening, directed by Attorney General Ken Paxton. On page 82, lines 5 through 11, you list all the corruption that Ken Paxton directed you and others to carry out, to quote, demanding that we investigate facially bogus charges, refusing to take our advice that there is no prosecutable offense, demanding that we hire outside counsel, and authorizing an improper fishing expedition. Is that correct?
The time the gentleman has expired. The gentleman can respond if he wants.
My testimony from that proceeding stands for itself.
So
You're now recognized.
just to clarify,
The
Ms.
gentleman's time has expired.
I understand.
Our next
Got
person
it.
is going to give you time,
This
Dr.
is the
King, to
old,
respond.
I made this a
So,
long time ago.
we'll
It's
now
from their
recognize the gentleman
website.
from South Carolina.
I got
Dr.
it.
King,
I got those girls.
thank you for being here.
Remember when we did a space with them?
Which you wanted to respond. I think
And
you were
Gal-
kind of ready to do that, but we're not given that opportunity. Would you like to briefly respond to that?
Very briefly.
Let me just say, so way back when we were doing spaces, somehow we got into a space with the Moms for Lick My Ass organizers, the Mom for Liberty, you know. And Gal was there, and at the time her handle was Mindfuck, you know, remember that? She was Mindfuck. Well, all you could see when she was in a space was the MINDFU. And so the woman from Moms for Lick My Ass kept calling her mindful. It was so funny. I thought it was so funny. They're so dumb. And no, I'm not going to give Dr. King a chance to. I don't want to hear her response. I understand. She's probably very offended or whatever. So I can't help her with that.
Finish. Uses the statements and activities of various groups. And based on those statements, we expose and share with the public what they say.
It seems like one thing that many of the groups that you've labeled hate groups that we've talked about this morning.
You remember that, Griffey?
Have in common is that they oppose the chemical and surgical mutilation of minor children.
She called her mindful.
As does
I don't know
the United
why.
Kingdom, as does Sweden, Finland, Norway, Denmark,
I just thought it was
and the United States
I never got
Department
over that one, clearly.
of Health and Human Services. Are the 7 groups I just mentioned hate groups, the public health authorities in the UK and Finland and Denmark and so on? Are those hate groups?
Congressman, we identify groups.
Okay, how about a group you've identified that just happens to have won 18 cases before the United States Supreme Court and been instrumental in 85 other cases,
What are we
Alliance
talking about?
Defending Freedom? Are they a hate group? Are you going to double down on that today?
Oh my
ADF is
God.
a hate group, yes or no?
How'd you sneak in there?
May I answer your question?
How did you sneak
Yes or
in
no?
there?
ADF is listed because of statements it has made against
Okay, you
persons.
said that about other groups. Okay, you're
Well, you
evading
don't
the
want me to
question
respond, obviously.
because of
but you're
statements
cutting me
they
off.
made according to criteria that you couldn't clearly articulate to Congressman Fry. Okay, I'll ask you, Mr. Bangert. Mr. Bangert,
I don't like any of these people. Why are these all Republicans? Why are these all Republicans?
Research Council, and it is frankly a pro-family,
Oh my
pro-life
God.
group
So
that
this is
promotes
just all the little losers that
will
Oh my God, they are all the losers. That's Grothman. This guy, I want his hard drive checked. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I think this guy is a little bit of an odd duck. No, they're all dumb old white men. I'm telling you, like this is like the unfortunately, old white men really rise to the occasion when it comes to, you know, doubling down on their stereotype, which actually is not a stereotype. Anyway, I want to read some articles before we go today. I know we've been here a lot, but this was pretty much over, it looks like, and they were just getting in their last little, you know, ball washing. So we'll let them do that. Let's see. This is a piece from the New York Times, and this is a piece from the New York Times. Billionaires, billions, increasing faster than ever. Grab a coffee or a tea. Take a seat, listen to me while I read. Oh God, I just felt like I'm that old cocktail lounge singer that everyone's forgotten about. Oh, the lady on Insta that makes all the calls to Congress is chasing them down now publicly, asking why they support child rape. I love it. Thank you. That's my line. I love it. I just don't. I think that's really the only question to be asked. Really, I mean, it pretty much all hinges on that, doesn't it? Don't you think? Don't you think? A post turtle is a turtle sitting on a post. Okay, what? I don't. Ooh, that sounds like something the dormouse would say. Whoa, dollar bills, y'all. Shut up. My access will not expire soon, you idiots. Okay, Elon Musk's potential new status as a trillionaire demonstrates in real time why there has been such a rapid rise in the concentration of wealth at the top. And let me just also add my own commentary, okay? My own commentary is that this is the great cash out. That's what I'm calling this phase of the autocracy, is that, well, or maybe it's the initial cash out. Okay, maybe they're hoping there's other days of cash out. But I think literally before we see 3 IPOs happening. 3, right? Anthropic, OpenAI. Wait, what's the third one? I can't remember. Anyway, we see a lot of billionaires and trillionaires starting to cash out, because here's what I think. This is just my stupid theory. This is not based on anything other than my stupid theory. And that is that this is a cash out, try and get some of that money out before the hammer comes down. And maybe there is a new Congress. So, which tells me that I think the donor class is a little scared of November. They may downplay it, and there may be plenty of stories about, how nothing's going to change if we get a Democratic Congress. But I watch the donors, and I think they're a little nervous. I think they're starting to say, where do I get my money? SpaceX. Thank you, Dan. Jesus, thank you. How did I miss that? That's what I'm going to fucking read about. Jesus. So yeah, big 3. Boy, that's 3 of the Mag 7. I mean, not Mag 7, but that's 3 monoliths coming into, that's going to be the Mag 10. That's what it'll be. The Magnificent 10 is what they call all those companies that are publicly traded. Apple, Microsoft, all that shit. Google or Alphabet. Because we're so pretentious, we're going to take the word alphabet. Idiots. All right. Anyway, I digress. Let's read about this. This is from the New York Times today. Trillions with a T. That's right, babes. That's right. Let's see. 15 years ago, the world's billionaires collectively had 4.5 trillion. By 2024, their wealth had more than tripled to 14.2 trillion. Now, their combined wealth totals 20.1 trillion, an amount that is equivalent to nearly a fifth of the entire world's total yearly output. Meta, yes. Is that 4? No, they're already part of it, right? The stunning figures, calculated by French economist Gabriel Zucman, director of the International Tax Observatory, a research organization funded by the European Union, reveal more than a surprisingly rapid increase in the concentration of wealth at the tippy top. They also reflect a series of important global trends: the growing dominance of a few technology companies. Hey, look, there's Oracle. Companies leading artificial intelligence development, the shrinking slice of the economic pie that goes to workers, and a deepening inequality that will be handed down to the next generation. Not to mention the kind of fascistic state ownership that's happening with companies like Intel and TikTok and all of these other things. So I don't know. That's worth mentioning, I think. Yeah. Ooh, bubbles. Yeah. All of it's it's not great. Okay. It's not great. Yeah. It's not surprising, but it's not great. These developments are particularly prominent in the United States, where roughly 1/3 of the world's nearly 3,000 billionaires reside, and perhaps the first trillionaire, Elon Musk, depending on how the initial public offering of his rocket and satellite company, SpaceX, goes on Friday. Their rising wealth, a 40% increase in just 2 years, has coincided with significant changes to U.S. tax laws over the last decade that largely benefited the country's richest families and stockholders and led to an increase in their political influence. They bought it. And here's the other thing, is that, what's interesting to me about SpaceX going public is the fact that then they will have shareholder meetings and be beholden to shareholders rather than Elmo. Because I believe his board has largely been just a bunch of hand-picked sycophants who, approved $1 trillion salary for him and all this other stuff, right? And at the same time, I feel like this is just, oh shoot, I forgot where I was going with that. Damn it. Wait, Paul's here. Where's Paul? Paul, morning. How you doing, Paul? Good to see you. Do you see where they turned around hundreds of Moroccan tourists who were here for the soccer games? I didn't see that, but I wouldn't be shocked because I know they've been playing fast and loose with all that, with the Iranians and others. So, yeah, because we're fascist. Oh, the fascistic takeover. So the Intel ownership and other things, those are more fascist to me than they are, private public partnerships or something. I don't even know what you call that. But that's basically extortion. And we should not be in the business of holding stock or ownership of companies. That doesn't, I mean, unless, there's some kind of benevolence involved in that and it's employee owned. That's where I think the power lies, is in employee owned operations. But what do I know? And fuck the stock market. Like, fuck it all. Like, just fuck it. It's just stupid. There you go. That's what I think. Darn it. Okay. Their rising wealth, a 40% increase in just 2 years, has coincided with significant changes to tax laws. That's right. Oh yeah, and the other thing is that they have this amazing big ugly bill, which we already talked about what that's done to corporate revenue, right, or corporate tax revenue rather, received by the government. So it's all. Gosh, it almost seems like a plan. The wealth of the top 0.0001% as a share of global gross domestic product. And it has gone from 1990 down here to 2026, way up here, 17% rise, I guess. Why have billionaires seen such a rapid rise in their wealth? I don't know. Let's go. One reason for the sudden surge of growth at the peak of the wealth ladder is the boom in artificial intelligence, which has funneled trillions of dollars of capital investment into a small clutch of tech companies, NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, Meta, and Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation, for example, which are each worth more than $1 trillion. Their founders and early investors have reaped most of the financial gain. That smells like bubbles. We need a bubble. We need some bubbles. I need bubbles. Wait, let me see if I've got any bubbles. Tiny bubbles. What is this? I'm not even sure what this is. Oh, these are just sparkles. That's dumb. Wait, are these bubbles? I think this is rain. Okay, no. We're going to get some bubbles. Don't worry about it. Anyway, yeah. Can you smell the soap tonight? It is washing funds. That's where the job growth actually was pretty seasonal in terms of hospitality and healthcare and education hiring and stuff like that, because that's when it starts to happen. So the job boom was not really a boom. It was kind of a very isolated, targeted growth that was not unexpected in certain sectors. And certainly the construction have something to do with it, but even that is going to blow out. Okay. I think it's not going to go so well. We see it happening with SpaceX's public offering, set to be the biggest in history. The anticipated day one valuation of the company, whose shares are expected to trade on Friday, aims for $1.77 trillion. With 42% of the stock. Mr. Musk is poised to become an instant trillionaire. Isn't life great, kids? Isn't it great? Happy poo emoji, right? Oh, yes, and the referee from Somalia. I did see that. Fucking ridiculous. The fucking, just all the hate that the right wing of this country has for people is just shocking. It will never end shocking me. I'm sorry. I refuse to get numb to that. But consider that only 21 countries around the world have economies that are able to produce enough annual output to reach the $1 trillion mark. The stock market is where much of the billionaire alchemy happens. Soaring stock profits have been disproportionately captured by the richest sliver. Yes, you may have a stake in stock prices if you have a 401k, and those nest eggs will help pay for housing, food, car, gas, electric, and other bills when you stop working. But it's the top 1% of Americans who own half of all stock, according to data from the Federal Reserve. You know, those communists over at the Federal Reserve. Yeah. The top 0.1% of Americans, a group of about 135,000 households, own stock that total $13.7 trillion. That's nearly double the 7.1 trillion owned by the bottom 90% of Americans, a group of about 115 million households. The tech firms that are playing an outsized part in generating those returns have created jobs, but so far the number of employees are relatively small. Billionaires' returns are based on investments in capital much more than in those companies' employees. That's right, they're building the facilities. And that shit ends. Oh, FIFA's terrible. Ugh, God. Just the, yeah. The rise of billionaires is accelerating. At the same time, workers are getting a smaller share of the wealth that national economies are creating. We just went over that. We went over the fucking Congressional Budget Office's evaluation of the bills from 2025 and what they would do to people's households. And it's the people at the lower end of the income scales that lose, and the people in the higher income scales gain over time. That's math. Financial assets have traditionally brought home bigger returns than a weekly paycheck. Tax wealth, not income. Tax wealth, not income. But since the early 2000s, the gap between the two has been growing. Economists point to several reasons: the declining power of labor unions' bargaining power, the spread of automation, artificial intelligence, and other technologies that can replace workers, the movement of manufacturing and other jobs to countries like China, and policies that tax wages much more heavily than income from investments. Hello. Another culprit, though, is the rise of what David Autor, an economist at MIT and the faculty co-director at the Stone Center on Inequality and Shaping the Future of Work, and other economists have labeled superstar firms behemoths that dominate sectors. These businesses have shifted the balance, or stuffed it, of power in the economy, allowing owners rather than workers to gobble up more financial rewards. Superstar firms can also function like monopolies to set prices and keep down workers' wages and benefits, or impose uncomfortable working conditions. Amazon. Mr. Autor emphasized that many billionaire entrepreneurs have added enormous value to the economy, but he added that the way they have at times used their money to distort the political process can be fundamentally corrosive. Is that what we're calling it now? Measuring inequality is difficult. There is a lot of debate about the precise size of the gap between those with the most and those with the least, as well as those to the degree which labor's share of the pie has declined. But there is general agreement among economists who study the issue that the wealthiest are pulling away from everyone else at a faster pace than before. There's Jensen with his little jacket. Tax policy plays a role, and this is what we talked about the other day. In the United States, changes in the tax laws over the past 10 years have steered more benefits to the wealthiest sliver of households, reducing the number of taxes they have to pay. A drastic reduction in the corporate tax rate has supercharged the wealth of the ultra-rich, enabling them to double down on their gains as corporations use the increased profits to buy back their stock. You notice they're not limiting that activity, even though they all are like, they shouldn't buy back stock. Well, but they're not stopping them, are they? The reduction in taxes owed by corporations and the wealthy increases the tax burden on workers. That's right. Who pay both income and payroll taxes, two types of tax that barely scratch billionaire wealth. It also reduces the public revenue available to pay for health, education, defense, infrastructure, and other public benefits, like Medicare and Medicaid. Yeah, at a time when governments are in deep debt. The mind-busting fortunes have stirred some political support for wealth taxes. The idea was embraced at the Global Inequality Conference in Paris last week. Proposals for wealth taxes have been debated most seriously in France, but also in Germany, Britain, Brazil, and the United States. In California, where more than 200 billionaires live, union leaders helped put in the 2026 Billionaire Tax Act on the November ballot. Whoop, 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 whoop. And I'm voting yes on that bitch. It would impose a one-time tax of 5% on a billionaire's net worth. Bye. You want to leave? Go ahead. Because you know what? People are still going to come here. Because we're cool. And we have really pretty areas. And a lot of art. So suck it. Even if half of you leave, nobody gives a shit. The measure, constructed with input from Mr. Zuckman and Emmanuel Saez, another economist who has been at the forefront of research on global wealth and inequality, was based on calculations that found California billionaires' wealth exceeds $2 trillion today, an amount that equals half of what all the California economy produces in a year. From 2023 to 2025, the wealth of the state's billionaires grew 144%. How'd you do over those 2 years? How are you guys doing? I don't know. I probably lost 144%. Quite frankly. Wish that was a joke. They point out that the surging financial and political power of a few hundred individuals contributes to a growing inequality that is likely to persist for generations because most of that wealth escapes taxation, creating a self-perpetuating aristocracy. As Dario Amodei, the billionaire chief executive of Anthropic, the maker of the chatbot Claude, wrote this year, we are already at historically unprecedented levels of wealth concentration, adding, and I love it. No, the thing to worry about is a level of wealth concentration that will break society. You do know you're on the other side of that, Dario. Okay, you do know that, right? Like, just so we're clear. Just so we're clear. I don't want to burst your bubble, but you should know that. Yikes. Yeah, and so let's see, what is the other one? Oh, I want to do some crypto stuff too this week and talk about that. The other thing that is just on the radar for me for today, actually, this was, I think, something I found on Blue Sky. Katie Fang reporting. Leslie Groff, who worked closely, she was really the right-hand person of Jeffrey Epstein. She's testifying today, and apparently there is going to be a transcript of it. So, I mean, for what it's worth, that will be interesting to see if there's anything, if she's willing to, be cooperative, or if it's just another kind of like, oh, Trump didn't do anything wrong. Bye, kind of thing. I think she was one of the people that was given the deal to not be indicted, right? I believe she was on that short list of people. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am, because I think she was very heavily involved. The other thing that I wanted to, which we can talk about this with crypto, I'll share this. This is something Lee shared on Blue Sky, which I really appreciated. I've been running the follow the crypto since 2024. So this is a great new resource that I'll share in the description. And I just want to say again, Nithya Raman, we're going to have a progressive mayor in Los Angeles, God damn it. And you know what, Nithya Raman's people, if you're watching, which I doubt you are, but that's okay, maybe you are. If you're watching, Nithya Raman's people, Democracy Dino wants to walk precincts with you. So she's going to sign up to be a precinct walker, and she's going to have her dinosaur suit on. So I hope that's okay. So let me know. But Nithya Raman for mayor of Los Angeles, God damn it, full bore. Fuck you, Karen Bass. Fuck you, Spencer Pratt. Spencer who? That's what I'm going to start saying. Whatever. I'm going to say it. Really happy to hear that. Okay. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. Yeah, the 5th. I don't know if she'll take the 5th. I'm not sure. Like, this is the thing. Who knows? Or she'll just say stupid stuff like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. Nobody did anything. Everybody was just fine. Thanks very much. Can I go now? That's what she's probably going to say. Is it okay if I leave now? No. Anyway, yikes, Mikes. What the hell? What the hee-haw? Not sure I'd open the door to a dinosaur. You know what? Then you don't live in Los Angeles. Did he promise to leave if he lost? Oh, please, God. Please, God. Or just stay in Malibu. I never go to Malibu, so just stay there. I don't care. Yeah, so same, I guess. Yeah, exactly. It'll be same. I mean, she has already got like lifetime immunity. I don't think she has to worry about, risking some kind of incarceration. I think she probably is just like, I don't have to tell the truth. Because the court told me I didn't have to tell the truth. I think that's probably what it is. Not sure I'd open it. Oh, not sure I'd open it to folk in people suits either. Yeah, maybe not, but I think it's an effective way, and it's it's a hard thing for people to do. So I mean, I'm scared to do it. I'm usually nervous. The suit will actually help me be better, probably, but so maybe it's more for me than it is for people. But I also think it's just a clever way to bring more attention to the campaign. God damn it, and that's what I'm bound to do. I want her to get all the votes. I want her to follow through on the progressive promises that she's making, and I want to support that. And I normally don't really do that kind of campaigning, but I'd be willing to do it for her. So yeah. Anyway, that's all. Yeah, it's not typical for me to do that, but you're right. Yeah, they probably won't. I'm sure there will be a lot of doors left closed to me. Oh well. It won't be the first time. Hey, I will see you tomorrow morning at approximately the same time for more fun and frolic. I feel like I'm very short. I think my chair is lower or something. Something's not right. I got to fix that. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. This is such an important thing. To be able to come live and listen to things together, to get people's input, to talk. You know what I mean? Like, I just really appreciate it. And I really want to do some panels and stuff like that. I know not a lot of you want to go on, which I totally respect. But if anyone ever does, you can come on without your camera, and we can also do a day, maybe Friday mornings, where it's just more like casual conversation about shit, which I would really appreciate. I would love to hear somebody else's voice other than my own. So, invitation to the people who know that you're welcome on this show. If you don't think you're welcome on this show, then you might not be welcome on this show. But if you're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm welcome, then you probably are. Pretty much everyone who's in this room is, except for the people that don't like me. Anyway, I love you guys, and I will talk to you later. Have a great Tuesday. Don't let the turkeys get you down. Seriously, don't let them get you down. Don't let it happen. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye.